destiny, somebody you're supposed to be. Far from the small town, there's answers waiting to be found. So she lies awake, thinking there's been some mistake, crying her eyes out, begging for help. She's shouting, I want a new brain, I want a new heart. I'm sick of feeling, failing, and falling apart.
CP, it would help if my mic was on this entire time. All right, I got to redo the intro. Fuck. God damn it. No, you could hear me, but I had it off on OBS. So, guys,
Okay,
welcome.
so, clap. Okay.
Clap. Wait. God damn it.
Clap. Welcome to Coffee and Contemplation.
Hold
I'm your
on.
host, Space Viking, and with me is
CP, I gotta.
Welcome in,
Stop, CP, I gotta redo the fucking thing. I did so good. Hold on. God damn it. We are professionals. In today's episode, we're going to explore the realm of dragons, magic, swords, and sorcery. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world filled with mythical creatures and magical powers.
Those aren't my fantasies.
But first, let's take a look at the origin of these mythical beings and stories. Medieval mythology has been a source of inspiration for 4 centuries, with tales of dragons, wizards, and enchanted swords that have captivated audiences for generations. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us as we delve into the magic of playing pretend. I have with me CP Sketch of Dreamers Arcade.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Here again. I'm always happy.
Who is being lewd? Being lewd in the background?
No. None of that.
No, none of that.
Start my Friday. I can always look forward to some. Well, I'd say
Some whale.
intelligent, thought-provoking conversation. We'll get there. But I've had a long week. I've got a lot done this week. I got a lot to share with you, and we'll see. We're gonna stumble into this fantasy realm, trip over our boots together.
Yes. So, good morning, everybody.
Yes. Good morning. Hey, don't
So,
put me in the lewd corner.
that's okay. Well, you talked about your fantasies. It's okay. It's healthy to be lewd and have some fantasies.
Is it?
What do you think the origin of mythical creatures and stories in medieval times was? What do you think the actual origin of all this was?
What, like the origin of mythical creatures? Just as far as I zero right back to, let's go with
the original,
the Iliad and the Odyssey, or some Homer Greek mythology type stuff. I think of that. That's what I think of.
the Iliad, the Odyssey.
And my Western education, I think mainly of Greek, some Norse. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm down with Loki. May the giant Loki break free from the trees, and then Ragnarok will come on, and the trees, the ships will sail over the ocean, and the wolves will devour the moon, and all kinds of awesome shit. I like that. That sounds like a good weekend. But no, I always think of Greek mythology as being the source, predating.
Yeah.
I mean, at least predating Christianity.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
It goes even further back.
We're gonna do cave paintings.
This is actually shortly after the cave paintings. We're talking like Mesopotamia. So it's like original dawn of civilization kind of stuff. The Epic of Gilgamesh, they're not sure. They're not sure when that actually was first started being told. Like the first time it was written down was in the Middle East. But like we're talking like 10K years ago. More. The first time someone went, what if I made a story that's about nothing? What if I made a story that I came up with completely? Vic Queen, hello.
Morning, Vic Queen.
Welcome in, Vic Queen Scarlet. We're talking about the origin of playing pretend, the origin of swords and sorcery and magic and and stories in general as well.
We're very interested in combing today.
We got some beard combing going on. I don't have my beard, but I have my keyboard brush that I could do.
Yeah, but look at that hair.
Yeah, look at this hair.
No, I mean your real hair, dude. Like
I could brush my hair too.
I go none on the top. I actually gotta buzz that off. And I'm cold right now.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is as old as human civilization, they think. Sorry. There's a lot of stuff when you look online and you're looking at these articles and you're looking for sources, and there's always some guy scratching his beard going, well, we think. like they all these things end with like no one is sure about anything. That's a whole nother subject we can get into at another time. Is that like we have a lot of scholars doing a lot of work coming up to not dead ends but massive open ends of okay, where did this actually start? And I think CP, you're onto something when you said cavemen, right? I think ever since we started looking at the stars and we looked at the landscape and we had to come up with some reason to make it make sense, right? And we got these old sages sitting around the campfire telling all the baby cavemen, well, you see that mountain there, that was a giant bear scratched that mountain, and that was this bear called Ursa, and he chased these women into the sky, and that's the Pleiades star cluster. That's one of the original stories from I think it's Navajo. Okay. Feel free to correct me, anyone. So as a disclaimer, whenever I come up to a mistake in my mind of like, I don't know what I'm talking about, I want to give this disclaimer. CP and I are not experts. We just like to talk about this stuff and create contemplation over a cup of coffee.
Yeah, a lot of bullshit. But that being said, I do have my little piece of paper. I have my little art degree that does have some.
That has weight. It does.
Has art history. So like what I'll be pulling from is I'm pulling from basically all that stuff that I learned. So I go towards remembering Greek mythology, of course, cave paintings. The caves that was in Lascaux, France. They were found in the 90s. They became some of the biggest examples of cave paintings. I'm not sure if that's where Chinese horse came from. That's one of the famous etched or carved, chipped, however you want to define the technique of some narrative storytelling.
Oh yeah.
Here in Maine, there's a museum not far that has some examples of the same thing, and I swear there's one with a dude popping a squat. Just that's Steve over there. You know, like the hero, the guy with the armor and well, not the armor, but the spear and fighting the beast, and then there's like some guy popping a squat. It's like, well, there's Hank. We all know he kicks ass, but that's Steve, right? Yeah. Hey, I know. You know, it's like, where's Waldo? You always got like a big battle, and then there's like Steve popping a squat in the back. Like,
that not look Steve. Like Thog.
I found Steve. He's doing his thing, you know. That's classic Steve.
We got Jeff, Steve, Greg, and Thog.
And what I find interesting too, we talked about this last week a little bit. I talked about the kind of downfall of where human beings have struggled to reach a good, cohesive relationship with not only nature but each other, and the system of domestication through agriculture and animal domestication, creating goods, creating a walled area to protect your goods. You then become vulnerable, and these are the early beginnings of a capitalist world, consumer-based world, but it's efficient, but it's also problematic because it immediately puts you at odds with other people, and so you have to take the risk or the bad with the benefit. So we were talking about that last week, but in this particular incident, the culture were more nomadic and hunter and gatherer type people. So there wasn't a lot of people like killing each other for their stuff so much because people didn't have a area where they had stuff. They moved around. So because they moved around, they had adventures and they stayed in spots. So it was cool that they would want to record themselves and their stories and then move on. And then you would imagine other people in tribes and groups could come across it because they'd be looking for shelter in caves too. And they're like, oh, wow, look at all this stuff. And maybe they'd add to it. So you get like early communication, early text thread, or a lot of people will say emojis. Like, we hieroglyphics later, and then emojis today.
Yeah.
We move to this pictorial way of expressing ourselves. But yeah, I think of the early just pictures carved in the wall, the epic stories, Greek mythology, and then a lot of thematic repetition in other writings, other religions, Bible, and then that becoming like the foundation for the only handful of stories that one culture of people can actually speak of.
Love that.
Thanks.
I love that you brought all that up because language is a huge part of it too. Like we'll have the need to like tell each other a piece of information, but then we also have the need to like dump our brain spew onto someone, and sometimes that comes out in the form of stories. Like, oh man, I got some shit I need to work through, so I'm gonna write a story. And I wonder if the Iliad was Homer's way of, man, I got some shit I need to get through, but no one wants to hear me like bullshit about this stuff, so I'm just gonna throw it into a story and they're gonna eat it all up.
Would you guys stop inviting Homer to the parties? It's all cool for a while.
He's a real downer.
About, like, Cyclops and sirens and shit. I don't know. Things go off rails fast, and he really upset my girlfriend. So
really upset my girlfriend.
That's what every dude does in this specific situation who has a girlfriend. It's oh yeah, dude. I want to be cool with you, and then it's like they throw the girlfriend into the bus. It's like, yeah, girlfriend really doesn't want you around.
So I'm gonna make it look even more like a potato and give it some
leveraging.
Yeah, we can't invite Homer to the party anymore. He's a real downer.
No, he talks people's ears off. He may experience hypermania or hypomania, and I think he goes a little bit too far. He gets too much into his obsession and story, and it's just too much for people. I think Homer should spend some time, maybe write that down. Maybe there's an audience for it. That's
like Homer had a good therapist. I'm a little iffy on the time aspect. Was Socrates around the same time as Homer? Was Socrates Homer's therapist?
Yeah, they were drinking hemlock together.
They were just chilling.
I think you got your Plato's and your Socrates. Plato first, and I think Socrates. I would imagine they came before. I always thought Homer was kind of like a neo like Greek mythology, like where it was like maybe almost bordering into. I thought it was like more bordering into the Roman times, where it was nostalgic. Where
possible.
It was like he was building. I thought he was building kind of like a side, like fan fiction almost.
Oh, kind of.
Because like there's already pre-existing stuff with gods, and then it felt like he was explaining nature in a godlike way. It's kind of like what I've always talked about with the Dreams Arcade. It's like, how do you create macro and micro systems? How do you represent God and deity and nature and things of that sort? Homer was. I don't know. I don't know if he was. I mean, I'm sure he was referencing gods and all that stuff, but from what I recall, it's just more about a journey in an adventure and these things that he encountered, and they were metaphorical monsters for inner things. And shit, man, we're gonna take it back many years ago. I remember in high school, going over the Iliad, and the English teacher was just talking about like, well, it wasn't really like Cyclops on an island throwing rocks. Like, what else could that be? They're like this one-eyed thing erupting rocks, and it was like they're thinking maybe it was a volcano.
Oh,
Maybe they saw the eye, of the volcano, and then these rocks were coming from it, and it's just a way that they explained it. And maybe they honestly could see that. Maybe it was less imagination, because they say you become like this product of the information in your head. So like, what if he just had never seen that stuff before?
it's possible.
Couldn't explain it. Like, imagine living in a world where you didn't have anyone say that's a volcano, and like you don't have the ability to look up how it all works and understand it in complexity.
The
Like,
giant
just have-
land
yeah.
pimple.
You what?
It's a giant land pimple.
Oh yeah, that's true.
If I didn't know what it was called, I don't honestly know what I would call it. I would think that the gods were pissed, though. I'd be like, nature is pissed. What did we do? Greg, what did you do? I'd be like,
Exactly.
like just pointing at one dude in the village. What did I do? You had to have done something.
Oh,
the ground is exploding.
Vic Queen Scarlet, that's a great idea. That's something
What?
that I'm working on.
What pad?
writing life stories in the form of illustration. I missed that.
Hmm?
And potatoes, they're good. They're very nourishing, according to Sir Walter Riley when he brings them to.
They are very.
But that's just the movie version.
Damn druids. Yeah, it had to have been the druids that angered the island god that caused the ground to suddenly explode. Could you imagine if it was a place that had never had a volcano before? Like there was no previous mountain, and the ground just suddenly became a spot where a volcano was. Like if it was one of the new ones and you were a village near that volcano, that would be so fucking scary.
Oh yeah, dude.
And just be like, all I did was stub my toe and say a bad word, and now the gods just made my village explode.
Well, have you ever had to have a conversation with nature, like outside, and ask
yes,
ask nature like questions and like look for answers, or God? I mean, if you're religious, like I think they're inseparable. Like I think it's the same idea.
Spiritualism, yeah.
Yeah. And I lean more into like nature, because it's like it's there and it does communicate with you. So it's like it's tough, because you do feel like sometimes you're saying like, hey, I was outside last night, and I asked questions, and then I got responses instantly. But the response was, I was like standing in the wind, and I was like, give me this sign if I should keep going forward, if this is what you would like. And the wind picked up, and it was at a moment, and I could be like, okay, so if that's you trying to tell me a message, I'm going to consider that. But I don't want to think that my humanity in my own brain or whatever is twisting this decision, because it's so easy to get high on your own supply and believe that all these things are happening. Like any little thing, like, oh, the wind blew, it must be a thing. Or like if you saw,
I mean, that's interesting. Like how many times throughout our history were these massive spiritual stories being told throughout generations based on something that someone just thought that they were getting a message of some kind, right? I'm not saying I don't believe that you can talk to nature. I'm just saying that I wonder how many stories, like, one of my favorite ways to think about this is how many wars were fought because of a coincidence that someone just thought was something much bigger.
Yeah. It's a Joan of Arc type situation. Did God speak directly to her? Was she this conduit, or was she just saying, like, God talks to me, listen to me? Like,
Yeah.
who knows? Like, where's your proof? And then what if people are looking for the proof?
People,
Whether you want it or not, you start to formulate those realities. You write that narrative regardless. Correct.
so if a Queen Scarlet here says, I'm currently
Yeah.
trying to start a healing process, so I may start working on it while I'm able to move. Hopefully it won't be too long. I'm able to work soon. Just waiting on one proof of address document, and then I can send off for a work license. Work, stream art, repeat, then save to move. So Vaqueen, you're talking about how the healing process is the healing process tied to some spirituality? Did we spark that thought in you?
Yeah, we're talking about thinking of writing stories, my life stories, in form of illustration. I love that. A mutual friend of ours just this week was doing a fun project. Our friend Amanda was. Did you see she was doing like random? This is me at 8 a.m. Like, this is me at 9. Like the hour on the hour.
Oh yeah, she actually does a lot of those.
Those are really cool because they're quick and they're genuine. They feel like a little peek into her life. And
they do feel very genuine. That's true.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. And it's there's not like super heavy meaning that she has to put into it. You can just show it, and then like she'll find meaning by continuing with the prod. You start to see like what your values are by recording it, even if it's in a quick kind of superficial sketch.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome. So I'm with you on that. I really value connection, and in my life, there were a lot of people that were really beneficial, and they were underdogs. They didn't really get a lot of respect. They were weird. They might have struggled with depression, and especially for not so much with our age group, but like you start getting into the older boomer silent generation group, and they didn't really appreciate therapy, and they just, oh, let's just stop there. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of people got like, oh yeah, that guy's just he's weird, and they get disregarded. But for me, that weird creative thinker and that person who is like trying to put their thoughts out there, I have such respect for that, and I connected so intensely with that because who did I have at that point that was encouraging me in that way? And so I respect what you're. Hey,
same Vaqueen. That's exactly why I do streaming at all, is to help people feel less alone, meet new people. Coffee and Contemplation is about expanding people's consciousness and sort of maybe bringing some things to light that maybe you didn't think about before. And if you did think about it before, then hopefully we've added to it. Hopefully we've added some value to your life, like through in an intellectual sense. So what Vaqueen had said. What Vaqueen had said was, I want people to feel less alone. And she said the only reason I would care for views is because I wanted to reach people and help them and see they aren't alone through shared experiences. And that's very much what I'm about. And as CP, you were just saying, you value connection with people, and through meeting people that may get discarded by society for a multitude of reasons, you still seek those people out because there's value there. Just because society says, "Oh, he's weird," or he just stays in his house all day, or there's a huge list that I could go through of that. But you feel that there's still a lot of value in everybody's story, and we need to like actually like pay attention, so to speak.
Oh, that's nice. You know, like my dad and I, you know, we butt heads on a lot of things. He's a weirdo. I'm a weirdo. We have that in common.
Yeah.
But he always talked about his friends, and now that he's getting older, he's outlived a lot of people, and they had this idea of the last guy standing becomes the keeper of the stories,
Yes.
and the keeper of the stories are
I
supposed
love
to
the
keep the
keeper.
stories going, and unfortunately, I'm the recipient of those stories.
Hmm?
I just keep hearing them over and over again. But it's fine. It's nice because those stories definitely will be or being stored in this hard drive because the repetitions that I hear them all the time. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put them in my graphic novel. And,
One
and
sec,
maybe
CP.
yeah, maybe I'll add those stories
Yeah.
onto it.
Hold
But,
that thought.
yeah.
We got an ad.
Fucking ad.
I need a way to see when ads are coming up. Does my dashboard tell me? Is the question.
Can't you play them on your own time?
I can. Well, the thing is, I'd be changing settings before every stream.
Yep. Yeah, that would be annoying. We'll
I had to
figure it out.
turn mine back on because I wasn't getting any discoverability. Twitch had changed it. Twitch had changed the setting. You can change when they play. I could always move that up. I just turned them on. Yeah, if you like, I was getting like maybe 1 or 2 viewers, and it was like my regulars, which is great. But I'm trying to meet new people, you know. So I was like, what's going on here? And I looked at article after article, and apparently Twitch, if you turn your ads off, they put you at the bottom. And I'm like, that's skeevy, but they are a giant corporation, so.
Well, they're based in hits and ad revenue, so like, what else
Yeah.
is it gonna be, right?
But then, like, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. All right, tangent time, guys. This is a big tangent. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But I'm sure CP will have something to say about it. But this is a soapbox that I get on. This is a hill that I get on often. When was the last time that you bought something solely because of an ad?
I'm working out.
Like, when was the last time that you saw an ad and you were like, I'm gonna go buy this thing? I want
thought
that.
I was untargetable because I lived in the world of boomer commercial television, and it's like I'd go down to my folks' house, and it's like AARP commercials and shit, and like
Yeah.
stuff that wasn't necessarily for me. And then I would watch ads here and there. But you see, what happened was I'm on the internet and I have YouTube Red, so I don't have those commercials. And I've been off Twitch for like kind of the last year, so I'm not in because I know they've ramped up the
Oh my
ads.
god, you just made me think of
So-
something completely different.
What's
Sorry, go
that?
ahead. Well, I don't want to get you too far off track, but the new economy is attention, and if our attention is being diverted by an ad, the new service that you're selling by having ads is the no ads. Like, you're just annoying people to the point until they buy your subscription service. That's the new economy. That's why ads. That's why ads still exist. God damn it! They only exist to annoy us so that we'll pay for the subscription.
Yeah.
God, I'm so angry about that.
Because these ads didn't exist. I watched YouTube for years, and a lot of these platforms, they will continually add ads until they're more and more. And see, what they're going to do is they're going to start tiering the
Oh
ads.
man.
You get only 1 ad, or you get none ads, or you get 3 ads if you pay 5 versus 10. It's all horseshit,
Yeah,
dude.
same Vicqueen.
It's all just part of the structure of capitalism. It's just.
By
how
the
we
way,
roll.
guys,
But we don't have to. We can have. The.
do I have that link?
Draw asses.
Oh, that's Discord. Actually, this might become the new Coffee and Contemplation logo. I'll just share that with you guys. But I wanted to share something else. Spotify came out with this new thing called Blend.
Okay.
And hold on, I lost the link. I want y'all to send me music through Spotify. If you use Spotify, it's just the easiest way. And there's a link now.
Nice. Artist retreat weekend.
So share, put music in here for me. Like, share music with me. I don't care how stupid it is. I don't care if you troll me. I don't care. Put something dumb in there. I love it. So as for speaking of ads, right? Like, I'm trying to grow this channel as well.
If the apps I was putting together, there.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
We're getting real distracted.
And I have to say, speaking of ads,
time to ground ourselves.
I don't like a screen or a speaker, like a audio device, telling me what I need. Like, it bothers me to my core to be like, I know everything I need. Like, why is there a toilet paper commercial on right now? When am I not gonna buy toilet paper? Why do I need why is your toilet paper better? Why is the dead tree pulp pressed into a soft paper? Why is your version of that better than anything else?
Well, like, that's what they have to prove.
It bothers me so much.
Tons of brands of toilet paper. Everyone's getting the toilet paper game. We're gonna set.
Oh my God!
Why watch you down here and not watch me? Or wait, what? We could watch each other together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this more? It's all about intensifying your awesomeness and getting people on board. And whether you're streaming or you're out there trying to sell bog roll.
Bog roll. Yeah.
You're gonna sell some bog roll. And then the fucking pandemic happens, and it doesn't matter what brand you are. Everybody's like, woo, I'll take anything. I'll take that bodega shit from 1983 that's like stained in color. Oh, Spoicy's out of here. What's he doing?
No, I'm here. You might need to reset your stream, CP, so you're more current.
Oh, am I behind?
No, you're right. Like, that's a massive part of it.
Had a 3-minute music video ad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
through my because it tricks you. Like, I noticed Twitch does ads where you feel like you're watching a streamer. Like, so you don't feel like you're watching an ad, so you continue to vibe in the same way, and then you realize you just got caught by a Taco Bell ad, and it's like, oh, weird.
There's actually there are some clever ads that Twitch has done that they pop up like on the side and on the bottom, and you can still vibe. So, like what the Queen's talking about, the unskippable ads are annoying, but skippable ads are also stupid. Like, it's like, if you're gonna try to sell me something, why am I allowed to skip it? Like, I'm obviously going to skip it, and then I'm gonna have even less information about the product. What if you
fell asleep during Twitch?
Why not? Why have no ads? Why not just have no ads? If they're gonna be skippable, you should just not have them.
What if you fell asleep and Twitch is playing in the background in your room?
Well, the thing that bothers me the most about those, though, is when I'm like doing dishes, trying to watch like a D&D playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And my hands are covered with like soap. So I can't skip the ad.
That's a good
like I'm like, God damn it! And then the ads keep coming if you don't skip them sometimes.
Oh well, keeps coming. All that soap.
Oh, I'm wondering if my Google will be able to do that.
Alexa, skip ad. I shouldn't have said her name. Now she's probably awake, walking around, trying to eat the Siri.
So I actually found a way to incorporate this into our subject.
Okay.
I just thought
that would be pretty handy. I do.
So
So just I want to say, Bitcoin, I really do like what you're saying, and we will definitely have to talk more about it too in the Discord or whatnot.
Mhm.
I'm doing a very similar thing. I'm using my work to help me and other people. And then, like you said, with your channel, it's super good if it makes money. But I think the most valuable things in life are the things that are genuine and true, and that's the energy that people really respond to and get into. You have to connect, and you have to connect with yourself, and like that's hard, like especially if you're going through a hard time, and then go through it, and then going through the process, and allowing someone to come with you. I mean, when we talk about connecting and bonding, it's worth all the money in the world, and then you just sell a little $10 graphic novel or something, and it's beautiful. It's
Mhm.
wonderful. Shout out Dreamers Arcade. That's that guy.
Yeah, go ahead and hang out with that guy.
Yeah, we do a weekly podcast, and I'm trying to get my regular
Hmm.
streaming up again. I'm kind of in a remodel here, even though it looks like it's all together. It's all going to get ripped apart pretty soon, and the arcade is. Look over February, you're going to see the arcade change drastically, and then you're going to see a ass every day. If you like ass, it's assuary and booty, 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 rocking everywhere. And we've got some stuff in Space Vikings new tab, and if you're part of the channel, it's called the Gauntlet.
Hmm.
Dun-dun-dun.
The Gauntlet.
Red Warrior is about to die. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. There's a little throwback for you, but the nobody gets it because I'm 1,000. Anyway, the that stuff in the meantime, if you're not
Yeah.
creating your life's work, I was really having a hard time. So here's an example. Someone with ADHD who's got a lot of stuff going on right now, and I'm transitioning. I thought I was transitioning from one work to artwork, but now I'm still doing that one work, and I'm trying to sneak in artwork. So I'm like, well, just to get in the flow, let's
Same,
just draw.
McQueen.
Let's just draw S's. 4 weeks achieved.
Let's just,
So Instagram hashtag.
let's just draw
4 weeks
butts.
achieved. Yeah, and if you want to, you could actually show that stuff if you want. Since I mentioned it, I don't know if you have like a side Discord window, but it's in the Gauntlet. We'll be writing about my experience with my ex, who was a chronic cheater. Aw, who gaslit. Okay. I mean, keep in mind too, like, be careful. Like, just be careful when you go into stuff. Like,
Yeah.
how much you engage in the process. You can be putting out a lot fast. So be mindful when you start to feel like things are upsetting you. You feel those like tingles. I get tingles in my forehead. Look for those physiological things that happen to you when you start to feel upset, so that you can kind of stop, take a break, come hang out with us, and have a laugh. And if you need to work with people, I'm choosing to. I think I'm going to work with someone specifically who talks about post-traumatic stress, and they do a lot of their therapy through writing, so it's already gelling really well. So, you know, and if you can't,
Yeah.
if you're in a position where, dude, I'm broke or I don't have the coverage, because I get that, I've been there too. Like, there's so many ways to get what you need. Whether, I'm not going to say, like, I know they have online stuff that's a lot easier and cheaper, but just going on Twitch and chatting with people, and make a friend, find someone like us that we can relate, that we're going to use art and writing to work through this stuff. So it's like, hey, CP, hey, Viking, like, I was doing this shit, but it was a lot, like, let's just have a laugh, and feel free. So I'm proud of you for, like, thinking about, your well-being and what you can do, and taking something that's hard and being like, hey, everybody, we're all in it together, and we can help each other. I respect and appreciate that a lot. That's super cool.
Okay, so
Cheers to you from the. Here's a little to the pizza.
I second all of that, McQueen. By the way, that's why I wasn't saying a lot, because it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I think that we all should share our stories.
Fun. I want to draw a butt. I want to draw my butt.
You want to draw a butt?
Well, I have to draw a butt.
Yeah, go ahead and draw a butt. You can draw whatever you want. This is your world. You create it.
Prompt is I don't know if this is right way or backwards. We're on day.
I didn't realize how big that was.
Natural. Hashtag 4 weeks of 3. See, like cheeks, like butt cheeks.
Natural. Nice.
Natural. Here's
All right, so I think the reason that I don't like ads.
Oh yeah, back to the ads.
Yeah.
Dude,
the reason that I don't like ads, the biggest reason is because they don't tell a story. They don't add anything to the human story, to our experience. They only take from. I've thought of that too, McQueen.
You can add stories. Like
everything's out for delivery at the same time. Hot damn, Chozo. Nice.
Yeah, I thought about that too. But you know, it's a new year. I'm drawing asses, but all the time, artful asses. But yeah, I thought about that too. So yeah, we could talk about that later too, because that's
So we do have we will have a couple of segments coming up that we have the deep dig.
Yeah.
And then we also have the freestyle.
Yeah.
Which needs a better name, because I do want us to have a chance to just shoot the shit, so to speak. So the next question that I want to ask both chat and CP here.
Oh, sorry, Scarlett's got me all insistent. Okay, clear the air. We'll move on. Well, all this stuff is great for Discord.
McQueen, all of that sounds amazing. I'm not trying to disregard what you're saying. I actually did try an OnlyFans for my lewd art, but I couldn't actually get through the verification process. It would not take my ID, the picture of my ID, at all. I was like, I don't know what was going on with it.
Yeah, because I thought about that too. Because you can have like some drawn stuff. You could just do it like the same format. But
yeah, exactly.
I have some other ideas that are even more off the wall, and I can't tell you guys.
We can't talk about your sexy Q-Bert.
Yeah, sexy Q-Bert. I should draw a sexy Q-Bert.
All right,
okay,
so
the
question actually ties in pretty heavily to the ad thing. So have you ever had stories throughout your life, CP, that served as they created such a strong moral lesson that you actually refer back to these stories in your day-to-day for reasons to be who you are now? Sorry.
I hate this fucking question.
You do?
Yeah,
because like I feel like so many stories have a moral edge to them. They have a moral, like a reason for the story to exist is because they're trying to teach a lesson or tell like a cautionary tales, for instance.
So I'm going to practice what I preach, and what I was just saying to Vic Queen was, yeah, I have to be careful because my stories reaffirm a shithole. I sit in the gloom with a fucking sledgehammer and I'm just ready to start swinging. That's me. And I'm that way because I was bred that way, that there are monsters everywhere there's no place for you, and the world will swallow you whole and destroy you. And so what you do is you hide a lot and you wait, and then things pass by, and then you wait for the right exact point to strike. And a lot of that's ADHD, FOMO, fear of more options, sitting back, assessing everything until I find that it's the most ideal calculative decision. But I've got all kinds of stories that I realize have framed a bullshit way of thinking. So more of my stories aren't like, I'm a triumph because I did this. And I have those stories now. But for the most part, it was like a single event that would reaffirm everything. When I was, I don't know, 11 years old, memory is so impermanent. You make it up as you go along. And that's the other
Well,
problem, too.
there's
After
two
years, things
So-
get dished around.
So if Queen Scarlet touched on something, I didn't know what FOMO meant until right now. There's two versions. There's fear of more options. There's fear of more options, and there's fear of missing out. There's
okay.
both. There's both.
Yeah,
There's
there's
no
FOMO, fear of better options. Like you wait until it's like, oh no, there's got to be something better. Like I'm doing a renovation, and FOMO was a big part of it. It was like, I want to figure out this, this, and this while the walls are ripped open, because once I put the walls back over, it's like I'm not going to rip the walls back. It's like now or never. So there's all these opportunities to do lots of things, and then they just kind of stack up, and it's like, oh, this gets better and this gets better. And then I met with a little bit of resistance and stuff, and it's like, fuck it. I'm gonna hold. Yeah, it sucks. Like
Then you're a fucketh bucket runneth over.
Yeah, my cup has runneth over. But yeah, you learn something new here every day. At least we provide in 3 hours one piece of useful information. We can guarantee that every stream. If you gotta watch the whole thing, and it might be in the ad. The information could be in the ad. We've worked it out so well that sometimes the ad will give you moral lessons, and sometimes you have to go buy what the ad says.
Because the ad's trying to tell you that you don't have a thing that you need, but you haven't stopped to look at your life long enough to realize that you have everything you could ever want.
Way enough that you need, because you see the Centipede cabinet that has 4 games in it. I could just get really good at those 4 games and get the high score and just become a master Centipede. Nah, I might play that Terminator instead. Nah, I might play that Nintendo. Nah, maybe I'll not play any of them. They'll just be in the background, because that's what normally happens.
Yeah. Not doing any of them now.
For a rainy day project, next thing you know, a stack in the corner of your room. You're like, what the heck?
Centipede has a very important moral lesson in the story of Centipede as well.
Yeah, women make video games. That's the moral lesson of Centipede.
That's an important one. That wasn't even where I was going, but that's very true.
Donna Bailey.
Centipede's a story about consuming so much that you can no longer function.
Yeah, the Centipede, I don't even care about the game really. It's just about looking at that cabinet and the side art and thinking about Donna Bailey. Oh, and do you see what's on there? Space Viking? Do you see what's on there?
Yeah.
In the background?
Facebook's targeted ads need to die in a hole. So like, if my mother is currently watching the stream, I apologize, but you gotta stop clicking on the Facebook ads and thinking this is a good product for anyone.
Yeah, Mom. Hey Mom, I got a good idea. Just cancel that Facebook.
Yeah, just don't. Well, like, she meant well. Like, she got me a really cool sweatshirt, right?
Your awesome creations right down here. Look at that handsome man. He's smart. Hangs out with real super talented wizards like me.
Right.
He's fucking a legend. He's a legend.
But Queen, are you we're gonna tangent here again. But Queen, I got to address something. Are we causing you to spiral into thoughts about your ex? Because I don't want you to stay there.
Oh yeah,
you're in the future. You're in a much better place now if you're without that person. Like, for real. I don't want you to stay there in your mindset. Like, let's bring you out of it. that's no fun at all. I'm so sorry that you went through that. I've been there. I've been cheated on 6 separate times.
When I'm happy, I will say I'm happy that
I
you
understand.
know what things are, like when you said gaslighting and certain things.
Yeah,
like you get,
that's good.
like they didn't have like so much of this stuff. Like people don't understand those concepts, and so it makes relationships a lot more understandable. Like when people are being shitty,
Yeah,
especially if you, like I was saying earlier, you know, I have a memory that frames my existence. It was like I didn't win a cake at a cakewalk at a nursing home.
yeah,
It is a bad one. It's a bad. It really fucked my whole life. How could that fuck your life, CP? A cakewalk. I can still see the old man getting up there doing the fucking super dance, like because he got up last minute and everybody started getting up, and then everybody wanted to get involved. We're all having fun, right?
yeah.
But they only had so many cakes, and for an 11-year-old kid, being the only one who didn't get a cake at the end because they ran out,
That's
start to realize maybe your life's
yeah.
different. Maybe you don't get what everybody else gets. Maybe when you look around school, you don't have as much. Maybe you start to realize that life's different for you. And it started to frame the way that I looked at things. And I thought, no, CP, you don't get stuff. Everybody else gets stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're asked to do stuff, you're not supposed to be there.
It's
So
all good.
It's the beginnings of an imposter syndrome. It's the beginnings of all kinds of
So
fucked up, wrong ways of thinking. So
It's
it's
all-
a story that framed my life negatively. And those are
Yeah.
the things that I'm trying to pull apart and be like, no, that just happened. That didn't mean it was like this profound moment where it was the beginning of a chapter. It all started when I didn't win the cake. I got to stop writing that story, and I keep writing it over and over again. And I have for decades.
So it's about language that we say, the way we say things. I actually just had a client the other day that he came to us and he said, someone broke the mop. And I said, hey, I want you to try something. He's like, what? Like, the mop broke. The mop broke. The mop broke. He's like, no, someone broke it. I'm like, do you know who broke it? And he said, no. And I'm like, then the mop broke. It's like, it's so important that you frame things in a way, like in this same way, Queen, you could say, I'm single. Like, you could start saying that instead of you went, like, I'm not trying to disregard what you went through, but it's also like, I'm just single now. Yeah, that sucked, but you stop telling yourself the story. You stop reminding yourself of what you went through, and you just say, I'm single now. And that's a good thing. You're free. You have you're open. You're wide open. It's a much more positive way to think about it. And I'm always watching out for if my brain is giving myself what's called toxic positivity. I'm not going to ignore the shitty things, right? But I am going to change the language. Like, I'm not going to ignore that the mop's broken, but I'm going to say the mop broke. I'm not going to say someone broke the mop. I'm not going to say that I broke the mop. You know, screw me.
Breaks my mom.
Yeah, screw those people.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Those are the most dangerous. When you find yourself saying that, you put a situation or two up against 8 billion people, and it's like, I know our worlds are small, but yeah, you could be like, I'm single.
Queen, that sounds amazing.
You could talk about the relationship, or you could just be like, you don't even necessarily have to define yourself like that. You know, you could say it without saying it. It's like, yeah, I'm just taking a lot of time to work on me and like draw stuff and help people and like say what it actually is, what the benefit is from the point in your life. Like, we all, I think, as human beings, want something different that we don't have. It's like a natural thing. Like, I got all this, but like I have all these, and people are like, oh, I wish I could have one, and I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna redo this one and make a new one, and like, you know, you can always change it. You take it for granted, but yeah, try not to, and like utilize and appreciate what you have, and if you know, stupid as life gives you lemons, Make lemonade. Life gives you single.
I
Do
think
single shit.
I think that's how you make lemonade, though, is you change the language. You make
Because
sure
won't
that
be
you
single forever.
yeah, exactly. And yeah,
Unless you,
maybe
well, no, unless you choose to. But I'm saying like like people think like, oh, it sucks. I'm this now, but it's like you won't be forever. And then like if you weren't, what would you have wanted?
Hmm?
That's the question to ask yourself. In a single life, what is ideal? In
Oh,
a relationship life, what is ideal?
I
So
actually put this into practice
yeah,
just like 4 or 5 days ago. They were clearing snow in our parking lot, and I was just messing around on the computer. I started doing my morning routine, and I heard all this noise outside. I'm like, oh, they're clearing the parking lot. But then I heard a winch and a beeping, and I'm like, huh. I decided to look outside, and they were about to tow my car.
good
and
one,
I'm
buddy.
and I like I because I was in the way of the snow removal, and I had missed the notice because I got home late last night or the night before, and I'm like, that's the fastest I've ever put clothes on. I was like, I was just sitting here in the sweatpants, messing around on my computer, and I'm like, oh crap, I better go talk to them. And like as I'm getting ready and running out the door, I'm realizing that man, they're really serious about this. And I could have gotten mad.
They can't just go through my car. They're gonna move that shit and bring it for you.
Yeah, I was about to get mad, and then I had to check my language in my mind if they need to clear the snow so that the parking lot is nice for everybody. And by the time I got down there, thinking through that different language change, I was able to tell them, "Hey guys, thank you, but can you move my can you put my car down so that I can just move it for you?" He's like, "Yeah, just move it over there and we'll move the snow." And I'm like, "All right, thank you." And they lowered the ramp and they said just get in and back up and then drive on over to a place not in the parking lot so we can clear the snow. I'm like, "All right, thank you." And I said, "Thanks guys. Have a good day." And I just drove off. And I don't know if it was the language change that made that interaction smooth, but I want to say that yeah, having a better mindset about a situation will make the situation go more in your favor than if you just enter it with blind rage, which I can imagine some people might. The Queen, don't apologize. This is
Yeah,
we
yeah.
the thing about coffee and contemplation is I am trying to make it a bit more scripted, but when we have opportunities to have conversations, that's the whole point. So I appreciate you coming in here, VicQueen, and talking about these heavy thoughts.
Yeah, and it's just interesting, like those are some things to think about. Like you're upset, you're hurt because you lost a friend, but do you have to? Like that's a thing. Like this is all new, and maybe in time you guys grow up and you can be friends and then realize like why they did it too, or what point everyone was in your life, because it might not even like be anything to do with you, because it's like people do things and people take it internally and like I did something wrong, and it's like, well, no, they did the wrong thing, and why would they do it? And then it's like, and then you start feeling bad, but a lot of it is their own your partner's motivation. Like you didn't make the choices, they made the choices, and so it's more on them. And you don't have to, maybe you lost a friend today, but maybe in time, and I don't know how long this has all been, but like it's weird, the world is crazy. I've had people that were my friends, especially growing up, 1 year and then not the next year. And when you're young, that's real easy. And then sometimes people come and go out of your life without necessarily having a negative or positive. I have some friends that I don't see for years, and I pop up and they look
Mm-hmm.
old,
So
and they're starting to get the little grays
man,
coming in.
I keep having
their
like
hair's gone, or they put on weight, and it's like, oh hey buddy, it's yeah, wow, time's going on, we're getting older, but hey, we pick right back up. Good to see you. It's a friendly interaction, but maybe I miss like, oh, we used to hang all the time, but we're still cool when we see each other, and we still have a great time. maybe there's something to be gained in the future. And I'm sorry that you're going through something that, is it seems fresh and concerning. And I know it's going to affect the trust, but it's case by case.
I can
Next one won't be the same as the last one.
I can attest to the fact that the trust will return. It did take me a long time, though. Not gonna lie that the process was long and arduous, but the quest wasn't impossible.
I've been on both ends of that too. FYI, when I was younger, and I don't know how old you are, but like starting relationships early in life. I mean, I got into one and stuck with one for a while, and maybe that was easier because I didn't have to modify myself every year as I got older, just within the relationship as it kind of cruised along. And then, if anyone knows what getting older is like, you definitely do get set in your ways. So your expectations are a lot less when you're younger, and then your goals and where you're going forward start to become a lot more rigid. Like, I want to have kids, and I'm losing the window to have that. I want to have a career, and it's going to devote a lot of time, and I won't have a family. Like, if you've already made that decision, definitely got to find the partner that's going the same direction. Lifelong bachelor once told me the best advice with relationships. I was in a new relationship with Abso, in fact, some 20 years ago, and it's like, yeah, how's you guys going in the same direction? That's what he asked me. I was like, what kind of question is that, old man? And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, all right, and that has been something important, as we had the same idea. Growing up, I didn't see much of the world. Abso wanted to show me things. We had an experience together, but then we went and did things along the way. Went to school at the same time. We did conventing at the same time. Did things where we could relate, because I don't know. She's not here now chatting with me. We don't have as much to say over the years, and it's going to be more about like partnership and how we want to experience stages of our life together. But that being said, if tomorrow Absu decides like, like a good example of a couple that I know, the husband wanted to go sail the world, and the wife wanted to do a back to the land, stay at the house. So one wanted to focus on the antique home and gardening, and the other one wanted to sail. So right there, conflict of interest. They had kids together. They separated on a, even, well, I don't know, friendly, I guess, and they just continue to raise kids separately and doing their own things, because it just wasn't going to work out. And you have to be willing to be like, all right, I still like you as a person and stuff, but if you find in your relationships that it's like far too polar, you only got one life to live, right?
Yeah,
and that's where compromise comes in too. Like, how much sailing is the wife willing to do? I'm not sailing.
I've got a friend who his
okay.
His wife, actually her wife, her husband.
Got a whole life.
Yeah. her husband teaches in Indiana, or used to. He's retired now. They're now back living together, but they were still married, and he teaches, and was teaching in Indiana. And he would go out there for the whole school year and then come back during summer, and that was their marriage. Like, he would literally move out to Indiana every school year.
Yeah.
And that worked really well for them, because there was like an agreement. And it only started to get difficult when he stopped that pattern, because they did it for so long. When he retired, they're adjusting. They're not like at odds with each other. But it's such a fascinating thing that you just need to communicate. You need to know what your goals are, what you want, and you might even be able to stay together with the person you're with, even with a massive change like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like that's part of that compromise that I was talking about, like
Yeah.
what can work, what can't work, and how much do we really need to see each other too? Because here's the thing, like if I were to go out to dinner with Abso every night, that's gonna get lame fast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're only gonna have
Sometimes
so
you
much to talk to.
sometimes you got to take the cats out to dinner instead.
Yeah. Uh, oh, sorry.
I didn't mean to throw you off.
No, keep talking. What were you saying?
I was saying that sometimes, like, I mean, I'm joking about the cat thing, but it's actually like sometimes you gotta take yourself out to dinner. Like Friday nights have been stereotypically, I would go to my girlfriend's house and we just have dinner and watch movies and stuff. Lately, she opened a store, so she's been working a lot, and Friday nights have been like her time, like her alone time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take myself out on a date. I'm gonna put on the Northman movie. I'm gonna get some popcorn. You know, I have plans tonight, right? People have been asking me, "Hey, you want to hang out Friday night?" I'm like, I got plans. I got plans with myself. You know?
I like that, man.
Yeah.
Take yourself out on a date.
And then like I have plans with my girlfriend on Sunday night. So like I get to like commune with my inner soul for a while, and then I also still get to hang out with her.
Oh yeah, no problem.
But
Come
Queen, I
check
think
out what the Queen's doing.
this whole conversation got me going on an idea here. I think we need to bring about the video journal. You know how in sci-fi movies they do like captain's log, you know?
Yeah, it's a blog, dude.
Like it's a blog, but it's for you. It's only for you. You're not gonna post it. You just talk to yourself.
Then why do it?
Don't fucking no. You're so rude, CP.
What's the fucking
You're such a you're a globalist. You're a capitalist. No, I'm kidding. But so that I hope that we helped glean some wisdom for you, Vaqueen, but also if we just reaffirmed things, that's fine too. We're not here to be gurus. At least I'm not. I can't speak for CP. I'm kidding. I don't know if you're trying to be a guru or not, CP, but
my aim is to help me, to help you, to help Space Viking,
yeah.
to connect in a way that is enriching and inspires creative thought.
Yeah.
And connects me with you as people, because I think it's important to connect with people, because I was raised, people are dog shit on my heel.
Whoa.
Shit heel.
Goddamn.
Yeah, no, I mean, my dad said, don't trust anybody. Everybody's selfish.
Mhm.
The world is full of monsters. Fuck everybody.
Yeah.
And that's CP's ideology, coming
that's-
straight from Hogbog. So,
So CP, that's we had interrupted you. You were talking about that exact thing.
you interrupted me? Well, fuck you, Space Viking. Go fuck yourself.
No, we didn't.
This channel,
We're like,
Coffee
whoa.
Contemplation.
Goddamn.
No, I'm just kidding.
Already? We just started coffee contemplation. No,
3 weeks in. Look at this. Abso's over here, like ripping up oranges, putting look.
Oh my God.
Shit. Look at this. What the fuck is this?
So
This is your nature, dude. This is your nature.
the Queen, you're fine. You're a wonderful human. You don't deserve what happened to you. I appreciate you popping in with a subject for us to touch on. And don't worry about the spotlight.
No.
So CP, you were about to go off about morals and stories and remember? Yeah. Yeah, you were. So what stories have you encountered that gleaned moral lessons and sort of like what did you learn about society and stuff from these stories? And there's a lot. Like I feel like collectively the world ignored Wall-E. Like we didn't listen to the message in that story at all.
That was the Dreamers Arcade. They just ripped off my cerebral thought process. Hey, my cat. Oh, my hat. I like this look.
That's so much. Your story is different from Wall-E though.
No, but a lot of it I mean,
There's a lot of message in it. There's like the same message it's trying to send.
yeah, because I'm an old fart, as an 80s kid, and the 80s kid, everything you'd watch would be like, the corporations are going to take over the world and blah, 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 blah. And it's go to Mars and they're going to take over that too. They're going to destroy. And yeah, okay. On and on from Robocop to Total Recall. A lot of misanthropes that thought it's over. And we're still saying that. And go watch Bo Burnham's new special.
Bo
2021.
Burnham's new special is brilliant.
I know, but he's essentially saying
Yeah.
it's fucking over. I'm 30 years old and the world is over. Every 30-year-old has said, Vic, you got something to look forward to. A few more years. The world is over. Like that's the world is over.
Like the world as we know it is over.
We've jumped off the building and there's no climbing back on. You can't rewind time. We're just gonna hit the ground. That's the kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets so heavy, doesn't it?
We got another ad. Oh, I wanted to see if this actually tells me. Do you tell me if there's an ad, Twitch?
Let's catch up on.
You don't tell me, do you?
Yeah, go with the flow.
What's the? How can I run a stream if it's not going to tell me when there's an ad?
You're supposed.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
it's
it's run your ads. In our break.
Yeah, but I can't change the ad settings for game streams because game streams don't always have a break. So like I was gonna just have it whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't
have it play at a certain threshold.
Yeah, because the random like popping up ads, I think I might run my ads, control them, and run them over my breaks with my own ads. So if you subscribe, you can either watch a fucking Taco Bell ad or whatever the hell you're watching. Just had to watch Queen, or you can watch a fake ad that I made up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying when there's an ad, McQueen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You're holding the stream down, and it doesn't matter if there's a focus on you because like we're tired as fuck, and we're still addressing everything quite well, and we still have time to go. And we got shows here kicking ass. Twitch says, well, if you don't know it's coming, I'm not telling you. Well,
no, I'm literally in my stream manager, and it's like, does it?
I didn't see the ad because you gave me the sub, so.
Right, yeah. If you're subbed, you don't get an ad, but I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I'm just saying like, it's gonna be hard for me to tell when.
That means you got to give Vic Queen a sub. No, but then if you give Vic Queen a sub,
then I'm gonna give everyone a sub.
Vic Queen won't see the ads. Fuck. So yeah, sorry to keep you in the dark zone of the ad, but you're very useful as a scout. I don't want to miss out if someone is saying anything.
Oh, I appreciate that.
We'll repeat ourselves. We're real pieces of repeating shit. Now, see that? See, I like to self-deprecate. I'm an Xennial, so I lean into the Gen X ideology. Because they were my heroes. And they're so it's pretty funny. But yeah, it's that darkness. Darkness is spreading across the world, and you can really have some talk that's not productive. And I used it before like a Sith Lord. You guys watch Star Wars, right? Anyone know Star Wars? You can be like, I'm a Jedi. I feel nature and the Force. Give me your power, old cosmic goddess, and I will reach out and talk to my buddy in another plane, and we'll all create a council and work together for the betterment of people, and we will not engage in relationships, and we are monks, they're priests and of a sort, like there's that whole side of it. And then there's the Sith where it's just like embrace all the anger and all that shit. And if you're all fucked up inside, like a person like me or an Anakin Skywalker who's had like a bunch of stuff, it's real easy for a guy to be like, hey dude, you've been powerful with this like transcendental meditation shit, but that's just some woke hippie crap. So fuck that. You're a bad guy, man. Be bad, dude. Let's tear this up. You know that anger that's inside of you? They told you. Remember they told you you'd never be anything. They told you you'd be a piece of shit. Fuck them. You show them, dude, and then that resentment starts to become fuel, and then that anger, and it's like, yeah, all right. You think CP is a guy to be? You think I'm you know, like all this stuff, and then next thing you know, you're like, Sith Lord, take some lightning. Enjoy. You know, like, so it's very easy to walk that gray line if you're dealing with trauma, to just to want to be like, man, I don't have enough good to animate me, but I have a lot of bad. And writing that narrative for motivation, I've used it to counteract ADHD, but it's really bad for your mental state. In the end, you'll burn yourself out, and then you'll start thinking, like, not only do you think that, you just put that on everybody else, like, oh yeah, everybody, it's all hardcore for all of us. Or then, like, maybe it's soft for other people, and then you're like, oh yeah, some people, I'll say stuff like, some people have to work hard, some people don't, and then you start, like, separating yourself and categorizing yourself. I'm one of the people who, I work hard. And then, like, now we get political ideology starting to go, you don't work for your money, I work for my money. You know, see how easy these things just start to roll into other sectors.
Yeah.
And then you start framing a whole worldview, and then you got a few other people who are like, yeah, fuck it, I'm angry too. And there's like a bunch of people kicking down buildings and shit. Groupthink is dangerous.
Groupthink is
Positive
incredibly
too.
dangerous.
It could save lots of people. Psychological. What are we doing here? I took ads off mine.
Yeah, what are we doing? We're waiting for you to explain your moral lessons. Your mind is finding lots of doors to go through to not address this CP. Is this a trauma point? I don't want to bother you if.
No, and then, like what Victor just said about, like, earning your own money, you're working for it. Yeah, the conceptual world of money, like, it's weird. That's a whole other conversation where, yeah, that and being ADHD. You got it. The moral stories, yeah, I told myself stories. So you're talking about other stories other than the ones that are inside of my head, like.
Well, yeah, it's like stories that you had absorbed throughout time that allowed you to sort of build your moral compass. Did stories affect that?
My dad told me a story he made up. He would make it up every night. It was called "Don't Eat Me, I'm the Worm," and there was this picture that had like a bunch of things on the wall that my mother had made. It had like a butterfly and frog and different stuff, and I think he took stuff from that and made a story. But my dad's like me. He makes some stories that are pretty hardcore, like scary. Like there was like this one instance where there was I think ants or something living in a stump, and the hunter came and started busting the stump up, and how it was destroying their world. And then he was talking about a bass one time, and the worm. Oh yeah, he told me about the worm that we were following. Oh, don't eat me, I'm the worm. That's what he would. Oh, you don't say that. And then this fucking worm was in the water, and the bass fish was coming in, and it was under ice. And my dad was telling me this whole thing. Oh, it was scary. And he's like, oh, but he woke up. It was just a dream. The laziest writer. I mean, he wasn't the Hawthorne by any means. But he told me this story, and it started to frame the early ways that I looked at the world. It's like, it's scary out there and it's vulnerable, but dream and make stuff up and be creative. So there's like two messages there, that one really was positive and made who I was, and the other one was negative and made who I was. And now I'm trying to recontextualize a lot of that stuff through the writing and using those stories and try to figure them out. Like, what were the good parts and what were the bad parts? As far as just regular stories growing up, Beatrice Potter wrote Peter Rabbit, and I like the story of this rabbit that stole from a farmer.
Oh my God!
And then the farmer almost killed him, and he just escaped and took his jacket and hung it and made the scarecrow out of it. Like, if you come back, like, this is you. But it was there. If you think about it, a lot of these stories, they are fear based
They are. Yeah.
and like look out. And
So
there was a lot of that stuff that I guess was around. And then the movies. I mean, less novels, but I'd say then movies about uh, over consumerism, giant corporations were starting to be themes throughout everything. So I'm sure that had an impact. And then socioeconomic status on top of that. And I just started writing this story. And then it's like, well, as an artist now, I'm like, oh, I want to represent the working class and this and that. And there's a thing called the grotesque. It's a film in French culture where like Amelie or the Micmacs or the Very Long Engagement, where it champions kind of oddballs. Micmacs is about a group of circus circus performers or freaks. They say taking down a weapons manufacturer. This big, so it's a story that I love because it comes right from all the canon that I enjoyed, like this giant corporation that's
God.
been causing trouble and ruining this guy's life for his whole life. He somehow comes together with a bunch of people who are being exploited and takes the system down. I love that. Love
Treats
that
for the
story.
void.
And that's a real nerd story. I think that's the one that the one that I gravitate the most. Like the misfit bunch, a Robin Hood group, comes in to save the day. So I'd say those kind of stories. Trying to in movies, people. I love John Candy growing up.
Ooh.
John Candy died early in life. Found out John Candy died at the age I am now.
Oh wow.
I'm John Candy's age. Found out John Candy has a daughter who's also a comedian, looks just like him. That made me really happy to know that his legacy's still out there and coming up the same way. He's going to have a biopic soon. Yeah, and I just realized like all this stuff, what was important to me and the type of people that inspired me. Sometimes it wasn't a story, sometimes it was a vibe of if the world's hard, right? And if things are coming down on you and there's a lot of monsters out there, how do you fight it? For me, I laugh, dude. Like
That's how you fight the monsters.
I try not to take it so serious.
Some of those
Everybody-
monsters love. Some monsters, sorry, hate when they're laughed at. Like that's their kryptonite.
Yeah, Chozo knows what's up.
Yep, Spaceballs.
Yeah, that's right. He's in Spaceballs.
I love
a good
that.
one,
Yeah.
If you want some Dreamers Arcade vibe, if you want a story, and this would be one of the stories that would compile. So we could talk about this too. There's a bunch of stories that glob together that start to make who I am in the narrative that I'm telling. And I didn't know it as it was happening, but it was happening. And when you do writing and you start figuring out all your sources, you'll start to connect the thread between all that stuff. So one of those things would be a John Candy movie called Nothing But Trouble. Anyone ever heard of that? Starring Dan Aykroyd as a 100-year-old judge, 100-plus-year-old judge in prosthetics. He's got a very phallic-looking nose they stick on him from time to time. Written by the late Harold Ramis, guy, Ghostbuster stripes. And John Candy's in it as two characters. The police officer who brings in these out-of-towners to Vulcanvania, a town that has been surrounded by a dump and excavation, and they're literally like mining underneath it. So the town has stayed there for hundreds of years, but everything is built around it. And if you want some Dreamers Arcade early inspiration, that shit right there. Chevy Chase is in it, Demi Moore. Fucking has the Digital Underground doing the song with Tupac. I mean, you guys got to see it. It's just dark, weird, but those type of stories would be a big inspiration. So if it had a sprawling junkyard or something, oh, Space Viking is totally wrestling with the cat. In fact, you can't really see it over my shoulder, but
Oh my god.
that cat is gonna tear you up.
She's
There's a
not
little thing in
actually
the
she's not
background.
actually clawing hard enough to hurt. Hey,
He
okay, thank you.
he. Hold on. You guys want to see one of my kitties?
Pinky. You just pet? Can I just pet you? Come here.
I could probably have one be brought in.
Gotta bring one of your
Aw,
kitties.
Super cuddly.
Yeah, bring one of your cats in.
Hey, maybe you know this one. Early Dan Aykroyd movie where he moves into a haunted house.
Yep.
Oh, what was that one? I don't know if I saw that one. Dude, I gotta see that. Always happy to see a kitty. I think we have one coming. Oh, we've got the secondary. We got Abso's cat coming in. This is
Secondary kitty. Thank you everyone for bearing with me while I get this ad thing sort of dialed in properly. So I do appreciate you guys watching the ads.
He's very young. He's about what, 2 years old? Very soft. He's very floof.
Super floof.
He's smaller than Bagel. And yes, the cat's Bagel. So we have Bagel Bite, and this is Cheese It. He doesn't like his face touched. He's weird. And he cuddles with me. He's more of like Abso's cat. But he's starting to warm up to me. He's he's different. We didn't really have I loved you early on. And then we had kind of a weird time. And now we're starting to like connect because he's a cat, like a cat I've never had, so I don't really know how to deal with him. He's new. You're new.
Pinky, that's very smart of you to attack my hand because it's the source of the movement. But also, don't attack my hand.
But here's the lineage. This was my original cat. That's the pizza cat.
Pinky here has a pizza cat as well.
There's the pizza cat. Yeah, I made him a pizza cat. Then we have the Bagel Bite Kitten Edition. This one's new up here. Seeing little Bagel is so cute. He's so cute. And now there he is, little Bagel. He's popping up.
Awesome.
And then
awesome, McQueen.
What's up? He's a lot cute. This is really weird. How it like the head pops out of it. There's like a two-eyed monster cat. When you look down there, it really trips me out.
Oh.
And then we'll drop a couple of cheeses in there with his little eat pizza.
McQueen, so many kitties.
So many kitties. Lots of kitties. Lots of pizza cats. So yeah, Bagel Bite, Cheese It, Pizza Cat. And speaking of Pizza Cat, remember I was telling you about our friend Sonnet?
Yeah. Sonnet got a pizza cat?
No. I never showed you. I didn't put it in your Discord.
Oh, did Sonnet? Oh, you commissioned them.
Yes.
Did she do it on stream too?
I don't know, because I didn't want to see it. And it was a surprise for Abso.
Oh, I got you. I need more cat emotes because my cat's such a big part of my stream. She's always getting in the way of it.
You see this, dude?
I do. That's cute.
And it's so cute because she made him like the original pizza cat.
Yeah.
It's got the little pink nose and the yellow eyes and the part. And it's cute because like his hair did connect on the top, but she's got this cool part. You know, there's only like the one fixed picture, but she got him. Absolutely like teared up.
Got him.
But and it's amazing. Like there's like a slight fade here in the material that she's put in, and down here, like there's nice attention to detail.
Oh wow.
A little bit of yellow around that eye is really nice. and then there's the back, and it's very stitched, very dense, very hard. It's not like stuffed half-assed or rushed. And then the pizza is awesome because
Can you show it again, CP? I made you big.
so the pizza is so cute because it's all portable. It's I'm not portable. It's all adjustable.
They do commissions, VQueen. Yes.
And then, like,
That'd be.
you could flip them and do cups, little cup pepperonis. And this is a really like hard edge. And the thing is, you can dissect this and take them off. The cats run off with them from time to time, and then have a cheese pizza. And then you can take the cheese off, just the sauce. So you can make a pizza. You can do the pizza. You can put the cheese on it. You put the pepperonis.
Could do
whatever you want.
Do the pizza cheese on it. Wait, you can take it all apart? Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then you put the cat on it, so you can come off, and then take the toppings off. Take that off.
I just don't know how to spell silence, apparently.
Isn't that awesome?
That is amazing.
And there'll be more coming from her too. He's got this little feet.
Got the little feet too, yeah.
Feet on the back.
Aw, that's so good.
Butt.
Thank you, VQueen.
Is that his butt? Yeah, she does a great job. I recommend like hanging out with her on her channel because she's fun when you get Sonnet laughing and distracted. It's
Oh
like
my goodness. She calls the Giggle Fest, insert whatever year it is. Giggle Fest 2023.
Well, you rated Sonnet, and then that's how you came in, and that was like the interaction. She was just like, everyone was goofing, and she was giggling, and she was making this thing, and I was like, this is cool. Like, I'll hang out. And then, randomly, I got back to Twitch, and I saw she was streaming, and I was like, hey, do you think you could rock something before Christmas? And she was able to get this out before Christmas and shipped from quite far away. And I'm so happy.
Yeah, she's over in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite a ways. We're in New England, so it's quite a ways. And especially during the holidays, she was very...
She is live right now.
Oh, yeah.
If she's still live, we'll probably raid her even.
Yeah, I was watching her yesterday, and we were talking about the new soda, Starry. It's the replacement for Sierra Mist. If Sierra Mist was your soda and it's disappeared, it's because the company, was it Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola? I don't know which one it was. They replaced it with Starry.
They replaced it?
It's a rebrand.
How do you just replace a brand? Like, why?
Starry is a rebrand because Sierra Mist has become old. Let's go to the Sierra Mist. It doesn't even sound. It sounds old. So they changed it to some Starry.
Which doesn't sound
cute and simple, and they wanted to appeal to kids, and they created the graphic design that's simple and engaging, and then they took out all the cane sugar and they just jacked that shit with high fruit corn toast, fucking fruit fructose. I can't even say it. It's gumming up my
fructose.
High fructose corn syrup. It just starts to bubble up from the sides of your teeth.
So your voice just did a representation of what that shit does to your body.
That's right.
It's freaking creates a blockage.
And that shit is highly addictive, everyone. And
it's like crack.
If you want to get your high fructose fix, make sure you buy your kids some Starry and get those kids the fucking diabetes.
Diabetes.
No, I just found that out. It was
we're
kind of a fucked up thing. I was like, yeah. All right.
So
things like we're going a bit off subject here, talking about Starry Soda and promoting Sonnet of Silence. because that's what type of day it's gonna be.
Honestly,
We're all having fun, right? We're all following each other. We're all making pizzas.
I often change the title of the stream, like when I download it, I'll change the file name to like match more like what we talked about. So when I upload it to YouTube, it'll match more.
You put that shit, and then we'll put some with tangent. You do. Hey,
She says
if
hi,
anyone wants-
awesome.
If anyone wants more of me, go and watch in my VODs Pizza Cat Chat podcast from last night,
Yeah,
and you'll see probably one of the most unprofessional fucking podcasts I've ever done. I was just not feeling it. I just kept getting
Swords.
tired and like, ugh.
Swords,
And we were
CP,
arguing with each other at the end. It was
swords,
great.
swords,
Swords. What the What
swords.
are we talking about?
We're
All right,
talking about swords.
Start back at the top.
Swords.
So today on Coffee and Contemplation, we're talking about stories and
So,
shit and how they
I
framed your narrative,
actually,
the positive and the worst.
No, you're right. I should do midstream sort of recaps because sometimes people enter in and be like, "What's going on here? We're talking about soda? That doesn't sound like anything."
Yeah, I
Except
try
for the
to
mind control.
I try to do them every half hour just to get myself
Yeah.
back on chat. I actually don't do it much because when I podcast with Absol in 32, it's like if I were to do it by myself, I would probably just do it every hour, every 30 minutes, just to keep myself.
This is Coffee and Contemplation. Today we're trying to talk about Today we're talking about stories, and we're talking about how fantasy adventure. We're talking about dragons, magic, swords, and sorcery. Trying.
Yeah, you could let her know that we're showing off her swag.
Yeah.
Her swag.
It's so swag.
90s.
So
Got some swaggle there, bud.
dragons, magic, swords, sorcery, coffee and contemplation.
Talking about the 90s. You guys don't know anything about the 90s. You guys would. Me and Boise do, but.
I was a baby.
Mm-hmm. You were a child.
I was
right?
born in '88.
Yes, you were a child.
I was a child.
Your childhood. So it was my adolescence.
Yeah. So
I was an 80s child, but I represent more of my aesthetic with the 90s, and this arcade will start to reflect that. We're going from the 80s to the 90s, baby. I always was there. I just didn't know. I didn't know myself well enough. The stories that I had been telling myself for years were inaccurate. I told myself other versions of stories, and those stories became reality. Not knowing my true feelings, I found that I was starting to become a version of some unaccountable humanoid that only wanted to perpetuate nothingness. I felt no connection to nature.
I'm so sorry, CP.
There. That's the book one of the Dreamers Arcade. That was just me trying to vibe up the mist thing. I fell deep into the void. I didn't know how deep the chasm was, but Mist 3 streaming this year, 2023. 2023 Mist 3 Dreamers Arcade streaming in February. I guarantee.
I just.
This one's for you, Miss Lisa.
God damn it. Miss Lisa,
I'm for you. She's not.
She's not even here. You're
here in my mind. Because everybody is always here with me all the time, whether they're really here or not. I can manifest.
If
Miss
the truth,
or I can bring Kanye West into the arcade.
CP, if the track I intended for today's conversation was right next to me in my apartment, you're in Siberia right now. that's where.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about narrative and how they frame my perception. I got to be dramatic reading. Come with every layer.
Want to manifest boba? If you're just joining us, we're discussing playing pretend, essentially, and how it has affected society in a grand way, like a huge way. Society would not be the same without stories, without telling stories. We're talking movies, TV, video games, books, comics, all of it. But also, we're discussing a little bit about how Dungeons and Dragons has over time allowed people to craft their own stories, creating a framework, sort of a jumping off point.
Yeah, I know we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I find Dungeons and Dragons to be a really interesting cultural phenomenon that I am really happy to see the increased amount of people to it and women mainly over the years. It was a male-dominated thing when it started, and like most things, and now there isn't. You define yourself differently. You have the choice to kind of make your own path. As far as women in Dungeons and Dragons, I love it because I don't necessarily have like strongest relationships with men for a lot of those traditional kind of really reasons and the way that men were supposed to act, and a lot of men of my generation continued to act in a way that was closed, and I never liked that because I thought it was disconnecting.
Yep, and lacked connection.
So it negates my value system. So then I started meeting people over the time, or like people more like me, and men in that category, and like you identify as a man, and
I mean, not really for that same reason.
What?
I don't consider myself part of the majority male population, is what I should say.
But you should define your manhood and your masculinity and still be like, hey, I can talk and think, and
yeah, I mean, I guess
make me any less of a
consider
man. Like, we need to redefine.
I get what you're saying, but I guess what I mean by that is I don't associate myself with the majority of the male population. I consider myself a man, but when it comes to like whenever I hear stories about men are doing this again and men don't talk about their feelings, I don't sort of prescribe to it. I go, oh, they're not talking about me, is what I basically say. I say they're not talking about me when they say things like that.
Queen's got a man is someone who lives and lets live, same as a woman.
Yeah, exactly. We're all just human. And when you stop associating yourself, when you start associating yourself to one group or another, you start to lose your humanity.
Yeah, and it affects the way you identify yourself too. And that's why I think it's important for men who are more vocal and in touch with being expressive through their feelings, represent that and be like, hey, I'm part of this crew too. So please don't make a generalization that I want this, because I probably don't. So, and I think that representation is important. But that being said, I tended to like to hang out with women more because of the conversation, the activity, and just different things that women like to do. I connected with. I like to talk to the end of time. So like a lot of dudes get bored with that very quickly. And
it's true.
It's hard to find people that you can just vibe with for a lot. So I found like I'd be having conversations on the phone with women for hours sometimes and just talking about life. And that's the rush that I was getting, because, hey, look, if I'm someone who doesn't produce a good amount of dopamine too, that's finding out I had ADHD, I'm probably trying to build, on the conversation, keep it stacking to where I'm getting something in, because if I found as an artist, if I bring some stuff up to you and you're not equipped for that, it might overwhelm you just with dealing with your own personal feelings. So I have groups of friends that I've realized that, not necessarily groups of friends, like Mr. Popular over here, but I have friends that like, me, I want to have an hour conversation about this and this and this. But then we get 5 minutes in, and then say you're getting frustrated, and I'm like, oh wow, you've already been challenged to the point where you're starting to get angry, and like if I keep doing this, like it's probably gonna make you pissy. But I'm like, I'm just willing to start digging into it now, and I'm not gonna pretend I have the answers, because that's the other thing too. Like two dudes like us who talk a lot,
Mm-hmm.
we're very well, we'll say like it's contemplation. It's not
Yeah.
coffee and factual answers. It's a conversation is how you develop things. Some people don't want to develop things. They just want to say, this is it. Men do this, women do this, I do this, they do this.
They like the black and white answers. They want I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, and how do you talk to a person like that?
You don't.
Have coffee and contemplation, you don't.
You just don't.
You find yourself a space Viking, and you find someone who will just go on, and people like you, Queen, people who will jump in and chat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, connection based. Do you like to do like some of the same? Like, how does that work for you?
Yeah.
Like, activities? Like to hear more of that.
Well, like I have some people that I would call my close friends that there's no connection, yet we can vibe still. Like we don't talk the way that we do in Coffee and Contemplation. It's like part of the reason why I started Coffee and Contemplation was because I almost have no one that wants to talk this way in my life. That's why it's part of why I invited you on, because you are one of the people that do like to talk this way.
Yeah, and it spirals too, because since I started doing this, I reached out to just a bunch of people, and there was a bunch of stuff going on artistically that I encourage people to come and check out with me. And I've gotten a couple old art alumni that I used to paint with. These people coming back and checking out shows with me and wanting to do maybe like some collaborative projects. It's exciting. And not only did I help myself by like, hey, yeah, like now I'm starting to have some of these conversations that I thrust upon other people that don't want to hear it. Now I talk a lot and I'm interacting with a lot of people, and I found that I need to do that. And my weeks are better, my sleep's better, my overall production's better because I'm so like up in my brain. I need that stimulation. And if people are like, yeah, dude, I don't want to talk about that, I'm like, well, that sucks because I do. And now what do I do? So I found the outlet. Just like you were saying, Queen, you're single now. How do you take advantage of what would be if I was a single person, what would be the best thing that I would do with my life right now that I can do as this person that I can't do if I was in a relationship? And that's what I found with with Coffee and Contemplation. I started doing this with you like when I wasn't feeling too great. I had this seasonal depression. The holidays were rough, but I shook myself out of it and was like, dude, you can't do everything, and don't think you're gonna be perfect. And I know you have a lot of expectations. You want to redo this. You want to get the stream back. Fuck, you wanted to do that in January. It's already February, but maybe I'm not drawing, maybe I'm not streaming. I'm still doing the podcast. I'm doing this with you, and I'm doing the drawing. Maybe it's not Dreamers Arcade stuff, but it's drawing, it's engaging community and those people. And the value in the minimal like viewing of it. Like, oh, I don't have to write a whole graphic novel.
Right.
I can just draw butts.
Mm-hmm.
And something will come out of that. If it's too much or overwhelming, take it down to a more manageable thing that you'll gain benefit from. Kind of like you were saying when you were like, I want to write something for connection. Write it for connection. Get the value. If no one ever buys it or does anything, it doesn't matter because you've done something you enjoy that is important for you, and you're growing from. And then even if you found one person, even if I read it or as Viking read it, and you're like, wow, if you change one person's life, it's just going to keep going forward. So it's well worth it. And then, yeah, what if you sell thousands of them? And then, oh, wow, I make money. Then you can actually continue the life's work because the life's work is valid because it's not just based in currency. And with D&D, it's great because, like, yeah, getting women into the mix, like, there's going to be more fun, creative, expressive things for uh,
I've actually found that all the women that I've played with D&D.
I've never played. That's the thing. I want to. But
see the women I've played with, it seems like they're almost, and like I don't want to. I'm not trying to generalize, but it's like it's better. Like it's more creative, and it seems like they're better at expressing themselves, and that's just something that's inherent from society, like the nurturing. Like men aren't as good as expressing themselves. So like a female DM, like you'll get these vibrant characters with these like really intense pasts and really interesting emotional constructs, and it's like they add so much to the game that like a purely, it seems like if you play with a bunch of men, you end up with a bunch of murder hobos, and it's like the story just devolves into a murder spree. And there's like very little negotiation. Every now and then, though, I mean that's also a generalization.
My broadsword.
Mm-hmm. I want to have sex with the dragon. It's like you tried that last time. God damn it!
Oh, I'm really playing Dungeons and Dragons when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. That being said, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons since I was like 16 years old.
Okay.
You know, there was a lot. So it was a lot of me. Well, actually, I started playing when I was like 13. So it was a lot of adolescent, like just
making someone's day.
Yeah, and then like I started learning to DM, and then people I wanted to be creative and world build. Like I still have the desire to, but you know, new players were just like, I want to put a tent in the road, and I'm like, carriage runs over it, like, you know, just shit like that. Like they would just troll you all the time, and it wasn't too great. So I stopped. I have in-laws and stuff who still do it. I tried some stuff like when I was like 20, but traditional structure of what they are and challenge that and be able to go further in the game and learn some stuff about yourself.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of these stories from medieval times affected that a lot to the affected how we play these games too, how these role-playing games sort of have allowed us to create more fiction and to create our own stories, and essentially to telling these stories teaches us more about ourselves, like when we play these games.
You talked about something that was important to me, and it's you know, we get into marketing and branding and the whole damn thing, and nowadays when you make a product, you make lots of it. And so I've created this thing called the Dreamers Arcade with Abso, and we've created art and things, but we also sometimes create objects and shit. We had, you know, Sonnet make us this object, and it's interesting to see that continue to build and have other people get involved in it. So you had mentioned, what if it was a role-playing game on top of it? Like, what if it has this companion book? I'm like, that's a great idea. Once I write it, even though I haven't played RPGs in a long time, I could definitely work with people who do to help me figure that out. But in doing so, that's kind of what I want to do with the Dreamers Arcade. Not only have it something where it's interactive and we're talking back and forth, and then the Twitch space is a space like this is the meeting room where we can physically go, but there's also a fantastic and cerebral thing where I want people to be able to play and create their own stories and bridge the gap between reality and fantasy, or maybe gray the lines, I guess, between it. But it would be interesting to see like what stories other people would generate on their own. So yeah, I love that idea. Love that idea about including people in your world and to have it organically develop. Seriously, go have a look at Dreamers Arcade. Yeah, that's this guy.
Do it.
That's this guy. So have you played Dungeons and Dragons recently, or do you play with people? Do you play with men or women?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have recently played D&D. I played it 3 weeks ago. We did a one shot where I got to play as a bug dude.
A bug dude, like a humanoid?
Yeah,
like
a humanoid insect. I called him Tic Tac. And he
Tic Tac, you know the fat.
Oh man, he had been shunned from his hive, and he still revered the hive religiously almost, but he also understood the fact that he was like shunned from it. So he was still revering this hive as a religious entity, even though he was cast out from it. And it was an interesting perspective to step into. This was a sci-fi D&D session that it involved like being on a ship. So like we quickly had these characters sort of build their own little stories based around, okay, we're on the ship. What is our role? What is our role on the ship? Okay, so what if I'm the chef? I'm a bug. I'm something that is usually seen as a pest in a kitchen, yet now I'm the cook. You know, like, okay, I'm the chef now, and I cook these things, and no one wants to eat it because I'm a bug. And the character became very interesting because I made him into a rogue, a witch hunter. It was the actual class, which is like a witcher, like from the show The Witcher. But he was a bug person. So now I have all these like stealthy, blood-based abilities in a sci-fi world as a bug person. So like the complexity is just starting to ramp up and up. And now I'm fully immersed. And we only had 2 hours to play. So I was like so into it. And then the next time we hung out, no one else wanted to play D&D again. And I'm like, I got this character that I'm now in love with that I don't get to be anymore. And I only got to do one session. So it's funny how quickly I got attached to a story that wasn't even mine. Like it wasn't my own story. It was this character's story that I was building that it essentially did become my story, but it has nothing to do with my life. It doesn't change my life at all. It doesn't create a moral lesson. It's the essence of play, of like playing pretend. And it was funny how therapeutic it was. It was like I found myself while I was playing with my buddy Tim and Owen that I needed this, is what I actually uttered out. Like I actually said this out loud. I needed this. Like that's an aspect I do want us to touch on, is how essential playing pretend is to our psyche, to our mental health.
Yeah, and I think this is it too. Like we today when we do Friday Coffee and Contemplation, we're playing. We're playing with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we played a lot today. You know, I think that's why it's fun. Sometimes you just go off and you're playing kickball 1 minute and then you're out in the swamp mucking around. You know, it's just how play sometimes takes you to different spots. So I get a lot of thought and ideas just playing. I guess we're playing in our minds. You know, like we're not just saying like things that are asked of us, like what do you want for lunch, or what are you doing for work tomorrow, or when you stopping by to drop this thing off. You know, it's like
we're not talking about the weather.
Yeah, well, okay, I will give you that, because up here in Maine, why'd I go so down south? comics and prints available at the print shop. Buy them up. I got a couple signed ones kicking around, and I will be giving full reviews of a lot of some of these upcoming comics, including the comics listed there, along with some other people in my what is called the Con family.
Yes,
I'm
the
digging through
the
a
convention
volume of
cult.
work created by some very talented people, and I'm going to reciprocate my appreciation by giving some feedback if warranted. So here in Maine, where I'm at, it is currently 0. We are fucking 0, but we have a wind chill factor, and it feels like negative 22. Now that's Fahrenheit, folks.
Yep.
That's not your Celsius shit. That's Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say, go out and start the car every once in a while. When I go to use a debit card just a few days ago, when it was warm, the chip reader, nope, we don't work because electronics just stopped working. So when the creatures come, when the man, I'm an AI dog gonna stomp you, murder robot. You just come up here to Maine, and we're gonna all get by the fire. The arcade might not be running. We might have to bust them out and put candles and shit in them, but it'll still be cool. And we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it down to a human level, and we're gonna freeze out those robots. They're gonna be walking around.
CP, where are you? Can I? May I?
They're gonna be like, we're coming to Maine to the Dreamers Arcade. Wait, the Dreamers Arcade's in New Hampshire. But I'm in Maine. Wait, this is in Maine. But no, wait, the Dreamers Arcade that in this comic world
CP
is where
sketch.
you are space Viking.
Where are
IRL, it's not on the top of
What is
Mount Washington.
happening?
It's right here with this guy
CP,
and you.
hold
and
on.
You.
No.
And all of you.
Swords,
I love me some candles. Yeah.
Swords and sorcery.
Swords and sorcery.
RPGs.
We're
So
gonna
your Dreamers Arcade as we're gonna dial it back. Doodle 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 doodle. Okay, we're going back further. Here.
The whole time. Murder robot and all.
There. Hold on. Oh. No. Look. The idea of your Dreamers Arcade as an RPG, like the story that you've built, is absolutely brilliant. Oh. So what we are referencing, so those of you know, the Dudesy podcast, I'm a big fan of it. Will Sassa will often, almost without fail, almost every segment, interrupt Chad. Like, and I'm waiting for it. Because he's gotten progressively more and more annoyed with Will, like throughout
Chad called him on it though.
He did, yeah. He did a couple
See the
times.
last one where he was talking about like he interrupted him and he didn't even have anything to say, and he's like, "Oh, I just woke you and I didn't have anything to say." And then he's like, "Oh, that's Josh Rogan." And you see that where he called him about like doing. He's like, "What are you doing, dude? What is that impersonation like? See how that feels?" And then they just laughed.
And Chad,
20 years, and we're finally growing as a friendship.
Yeah. Because I feel like Chad just let him do it. I think Chad just let him be. I don't know. I don't have many things that grind my gears. I feel like interruptions extended. I feel like I'm interrupted and I don't really care that much. But if it's like over and over and over again, like he's putting up with, I don't think I could do it. I'd just be like, I'm done. Like if I was in Chad's position, I'd be like, nope. So
look at this. She's got a full meal. I'm not having this. Abso's.
Well, I mean, I can make you.
Abso's got like a dinner pot roast going on here.
Well,
like, already.
You can munch. You can munch. I wanted to talk a little bit about how the story that you've crafted, Dreamers Arcade, had a very humble beginning, and now you're all the way up to considering like it as an RPG, role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game. There's been times when I've played, like I played D&D in the
brought to you by Body Armor Light. No, see, he just said he hated it, so I don't know why I felt like I needed to interrupt him. It was awesome. That's what Will does. He gets the charge. That now I know why he does it. Look at your face. Look at your face. It's like, fuck you, dude. And so and now I can tell you're simultaneously pissed, but I'm like, so I feel awkward. Now I know why he does it. Okay, continue on.
Now I know why Chad pauses, because he's like, I don't even want to.
Just a second.
Chad does that whenever, like, when he opens up, when Will finally opens up the floor to him, Chad pauses because he doesn't even want to anymore. He's like, I don't even want to say what I was going to say now, because like I'm just that frustrated.
I got my shirt on backwards.
Yeah. So
look at this. I'm doing good. This is the type of day we're gonna have. I can't even put shirts on.
A lot of stories get adapted into different forms of media, such as like books, films, and video games, right? Like your story getting adapted into a RPG probably goes pretty deep into like how you feel about different forms of media as well. Because like you probably had an idea of like, is it a novel? Is it a graphic novel? And then I brought up the idea of it being an RPG, and that changes the structure. That changes how it's absorbed, how it's told, what you can learn from it. It's going to change, especially if it's an RPG. I've played D&D games where the DM had such a strict story in mind that the players felt railroaded and too structured. And then I've played D&D games where there was no structure and it was chaos and there was no story to be had. So like there's a balance. Like I want to be told a story and play a game at the same time, but I also don't want it to just be a mash of like, there was one actually in the beginning of the stream, this stream, the game part of it, we played Divinity and we entered a town and I accidentally killed a guy and the whole town turned against us. And there was a story that the game intended for that area, which is now done because we killed everyone in the town, right? That happened to me in a D&D game as well. The narrative got completely wiped out because of our actions, and the DM had to come up with something, and they didn't have anything in place, which ended up the narrative was gone. Like whatever story was intended was completely gone.
That seems like a pretty easy fix, though. It
can be. Like Brennan Mulligan, he's a YouTube star who is a DM. He had a great example of this where there was a town that they were going to a wedding, and he had plans for the wedding to get destroyed by this sorcerer, right? But the players were upset with the way this woman was getting married, so they saved her from the wedding and kidnapped her. Well, she agreed to go with them, but they took her, and now the story is them getting hunted by this kingdom. So the sorcerer shows up to this wedding like, I'm gonna ruin this wedding, and the wedding's already been ruined, and he's like, oh wait, what? So the kingdom ends up having to hire this sorcerer to help find the bride instead. Like, it was brilliant. I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of contingency plan when it comes to D&D. If your main guy is the facilitator of the quest to bring the person and they kill that person, you just have to have the other secondary person that would come in and just do the same thing. Or, just improv it, make up, make it up.
Yeah.
Make it up.
Make it up.
Just make it up, dude. It shouldn't be that hard.
So that's why I like one shots so much. Like a one shot is a story that can be contained within a couple hours of gameplay of a tabletop game. And when you can like manage to tell a really engaging and interesting story and have some fun events for the players in that short amount of time, that shows a lot of creativity to me, to be able to shorten the story. And it also makes it more fun for me because then I don't have this pressure of, oh, we got to meet every week and we got to play. And what if something happens? And then what if something happens for everyone in the group for many months in a row? And then you don't play for like a whole year. And how are you supposed to like pick it up again? So like the one shots so much better for me. And I'm sorry to jump down your throat with it being about D&D, but that's what I was sort of leading up to with our subject matter here, is how now we craft our own stories. Like it used to be the Epic of Gilgamesh, it used to be the Iliad, and now we have this amazing platform that this like stack like almost 2 feet high of books that we can go off of to craft our own story from these building blocks these books provide us. And then like Pathfinder has its own system, and there's like a multitude of other systems we can use to like build our own stories, which is just so fantastic. Like you don't even have to be a writer or creatively trained individual to use these books to craft a story.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah, that's something that I've thought a lot about. You were talking about different ways to present a story, and why choose one over the other. And that's something that is a little more unique to the experience of human beings living in 2023. We have different options, and I always think now, and this helps a lot, what is the intention of the work that I'm trying to create? And that helps me guide it without going too tangential and keeping it within a framework. And that can also be included with what you choose to represent your work. If you make art, a lot of times the material is now important. We're getting into stuff that's less drawing, less painting, less printmaking, and all of the same combined together. Less sculpture, more installation. Marcel Duchamp and the ready-made, bringing urinals into art galleries and putting them in a different orientation and saying, that's my art. Well, dude, you just bought that at a hardware store and you've recontextualized it. So we move into these conceptual spaces, but the material starts to inform the way that we look at it. And that's been a big part of art within our lives. And I looked at a lot of guys like Klaus Oldenburg, like making objects of different scale, making painterly, kind of horrid-looking boutique items or food items, and then renting out a storefront in New York, and that was his gallery space, like talking about objects, art making process, and then the commodification of art and how things are sold today.
Yeah.
So I look at a lot of those kind of examples, and with the Dreamers Arcade, it's all about how the physical world speaks to a conceptual or digital world. I grew up as a traditional carpenter, inspired by the internet and things that screens here that are just flat and have a bunch of simple images, but with a piece of art on the side of the cabinet, the story goes even further. And then the whole thing is an object in itself. The experience of the arcade and the tactileness of the buttons. You get into pinball machines, and they're like giant dioramas that you can just explore. The physicality of games was something that was a little bit more predominant when they first came out, and now everything is basically just a little file in your phone, and you lose a lot of that experience of how the artifact informs the imagination. And so those are some of the concepts that I'm stringing together for the Dreamers Arcade. And then the question is, well, how do I put it out? Nowadays, everybody wants to put out every format of things because money is money is money. And if you have 10 ingredients at McDonald's and you make 8 sandwiches out of them, you're going to try to figure out how to make 10 or 15. It's the same stuff you're already buying, but you're figuring out ways to take what you already have and put it into different things. Either make a different sandwich or make it a different format for someone who likes to read, someone who likes to binge watch TV, someone who likes the comics, someone who likes to role play. And each one of those mediums has an advantage and a disadvantage, and you have to figure out which ones those are and understand that translation. And this is something we don't understand in a mainstream sense. I mean, people understand, they just don't give a shit. But if you were to take stuff that was a graphic novel and make it a movie or a TV show and a game, vice versa, they don't translate a lot and they don't work. And it's like, oh, wow, this worked as a comic but didn't work as a movie. Why? Well, comic experience is something that's more ongoing, something that you can stop, you can go back in time with, you can flip back. There's different ways to experience that. So how would that utilize the format of the Dreamers Arcade? That's the things I have to, or how would a movie be better? Or could I do a little bit of both? Like, would one story work better as a movie? Would one story work better as a comic? And so those are the questions to ask yourself going forward to help kind of clear that up. That's what I tend to do.
I gotta show something here.
Oh, look at this guy.
You brought up my feet. Monetized or even more monetized.
Well, I mean, I would think so.
Yeah. So
it's the algorithm.
I gotta show this. So you guys know of the story of Beowulf, right?
Yeah, with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. So that movie was hilariously sort of bashed. Like, it's not good. Not a good movie. Not a good adaptation.
Really boring. Really stiff.
Here's the original story of Beowulf. Penguin Classics, translated by Michael Alexander. And then I have, this story is really hard to read. I actually have not read this particular book in my hand right now, because even with the translations, this is so hard to read. It is, because, all right, so here's a passage from it, all right?
All bullshit.
So yeah, you gotta call bullshit sometimes. So I'm gonna give you a passage from close to the end of the story.
I can hear you.
Okay. For the famous prince, the protection lent to his life and person by the shield was shorter than he had shaped it to be. He must now dispute this space of time. In the first of his life, when fate had not assigned him the glory of the battle, the Geat chieftain raised his hand and reached down such a stroke with his large ancestral sword on the horribly patterned snake, that meeting the bone, his bright edge turned and hit bit less strongly than the sorely straitened lord required of it then. The keeper of the barrow, after his stroke, grew savage in the mood, spat death fire. The sparks of their battle blazed into the distance. So, because of the difficulty that is to read, I could glean he's fighting a snake with a very intricate pattern, and after he struck the snake, he looked and saw a battle being lit up by some fire, right? So we have the Santiago Garcia and David Rubin Beowulf adaptation into a comic. Let's find that section and see if that is easier for me to absorb the story.
Okay. What section are you reading?
That's the near the end when he's fighting a snake. Here it is. Oh my god, I found it.
What page was that?
What page? Oh, do you have the Penguin Classics one too?
No, but
what's your translation?
This one is great. Well, I want you to show the comic thing. I don't want to stand that up.
So, but the battle with the snake, right?
Yeah.
This would be the dragon. Oh, this is the whole story. So I need to go closer to the middle here. to mother. Like the old book describes Grendel as a snake for some reason, but
Really?
the book adaptation, the the comic adaptation here shows Grendel as a monster. It's like,
Hmm. So the version that I have is really interesting. This is the bilingual edition.
oh. So that section is probably separate. Orders of the funeral. Is this the whole story? Is this Grendel's death as well? There's the map. Is this the actual the dragon he fights at the end?
Oh, it's got the family tree too.
Or notes?
Welcome to the Coffee and Contemplation Book Club.
Well, the reason I'm bringing up Beowulf is because the Queen brought up a very interesting thing: Thor the Bride. So there are stories that are also passed down through oral tradition. The Norse is something that I have a lot of familiarity with because I'm Norse pagan myself. So I've looked up these stories pretty often. Thor's wedding is a very interesting story to me because Thor decides to disguise himself as a bride in order to trick Loki, I believe. And this story of Thor the Bride, if you guys want to get into it, I'll leave a link here. Because I don't want to read the entire thing to you.
Oh, why not?
I could read the story to you. It's not terribly long. Beowulf is from that same era that things were not written down properly. So I'm glad you had a version with you. Who translated yours?
This is the new verse translation by Seamus Henley.
So mine is translated by Michael Alexander. Oh, I don't know who that is.
And this version.
Read the first line of the story to me.
I'm going to just show you. It has the English and then the bilingual.
Okay.
So you have the religion to where. So we were going to get in the first page.
Get to the part that says the first page of the actual story. So not the introduction, like past the introduction.
Yeah.
Of the English.
That's a lot of introduction here. Okay.
But mine says, "Attend. We have heard of the thriving of the throne of Denmark, how the folk kings flourished in former days, how those royal athelings earned that glory. It was not the Skyed Schiflung."
What?
Yeah, some of it isn't translated. That's cool. It was not Skyed Schiflung that shook the halls, took mead benches, taught encroaching foes to fear him, who found in childhood lacked clothing, ? Yet he lived and prospered, grew in strength and stature under the heavens, until the clans settled in the seacoasts neighboring over the whale road that must obey him and give tribute. He was a good king. That's the first paragraph I have.
Okay, so here we go. So, the Spear Danes in the days gone by, and the kings who ruled them had courage and greatness. We have heard of those princes' heroic campaigns, the shield chieftain, scourge of many tribes, the wrecker of mead benches, rampaging among foes. The terror of the hall troops had come far. The foundling, to start with, he would flourish later on as his powers waxed and his worth was proved. In the end, each clan on their outlying coast beyond the Whale Road had to yield to him and begin to pay tribute. That was one good king.
Wow, it's funny how like the vibe is the same.
And this was put out in 2000. So
all right, and this
This is about the Queen. This is the Queen edition. Vic Queen edition. You guys are about the same age.
So this was 1944 for my copy.
Yours is a little different, but then it's got like the Wagardin in Dagum. I can't. How do you?
Yeah.
Speak
So
this?
this was 2016 was when the comic came out, and the way the comic starts is it has taken a lot of creative liberty with the story.
That's 16 years after what I've read. Okay.
So the comic, I'm gonna go and bring up my chat cam so you guys can see, because it's a visual. This is why I love adaptations, right? It's a visual. There's no words in the intro. This is the first page of this. It's visual storytelling. This is why I love adaptations. So one, a monster. It completely it greets us with the main point of the story. It skips over the setting. We don't learn about the kings. We don't learn about how good the king was. Hrothgar, you know, he was a good king. We get introduced to how good he was. But instead, we get fortune and drinks, and they're partying, and then suddenly everybody's dying. We don't learn how good of a king he was. We just learn, oh my God, this is happening. It's fascinating that the movie was so bad when they had so much to go off of. They had adaptation after adaptation to look into and be like, okay, what's the feel? How do we want this to go? And instead they just said, okay, we got Angelina Jolie, so we're gonna make money.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater. That was not fun.
Not fun. Sorry, but like that. Sorry, this is I'm getting into like I'm upset. But let's talk about the fact that this story has stood the test of time. Like we have this copy from 1944. The actual story was from 900 AD. It was an orally transmitted story. Like no one wrote it down. We're talking hundreds of years of the story of Beowulf being told by hundreds of different clans in Denmark until monks finally wrote it down. It was then retranslated by Michael Alexander. It was retranslated by, what was your writer again?
Seamus Henley in 2000.
That is just insane that the game of telephone over the eons has changed Beowulf to the point where we are now, my most recent copy of it is a comic book adaptation that doesn't even mention Hrothgar being a good king. It immediately shows the tragedy of all of his people getting killed by Grendel. That's how that's introduced. Meanwhile,
Isn't
both
that
of
how
our
the movie introduced it too?
I believe so, because it's all fear factor. Like you said, shock value. Like a lot of our stories now are based on fear. A lot of our morals are delivered to us based on fear. Whereas back in 900 AD, look how good our king is. What tragedy has befallen our good king? That's exactly how the story starts originally. But now we have to use fear to introduce people to stories.
Well, I mean, I'd say fears. I think we've talked about this before. Like fear's been a way to get people engaged in your stories and your ideology quickly by making people, hey, wait a minute, everybody, let's step back and really look at the subject. And it's scary. You might want to listen to me first because you could get yourself in a situation. So yeah, fear definitely. And then look at the world we live in. You know, like back then, you're bored sitting around the fire, like, oh, hey, bud, tell me that story about that Grendel and that king, and you know, like we need some entertainment, we need some motivation. And,
yeah, it's a gripping effect. Yeah, Incarnate, how are you?
And then to like know this stuff, but like you have to lead like pretty. Just think about it. Think of the movies that were made in the 70s versus the 90s versus 2010 versus 2020. Like movies just can't, for an audience, they have to just jump right out. And if they're not introducing antagonists and getting people like invested, and a lot of people are like, nah, I'm bored with it because it's they're. I'd say movies are still generally made for, um, you know, making money and selling them to younger folks. So younger folks.
The amount
not
of
that-
decisions that get made in the Disney conference room just to sell more toys is astounding to me. There's like so many decisions for the script of a movie that are made simply because, oh, we need to sell toys, so let's make the ship shaped like this, or let's make this easier to promote, or vice versa. It's no longer about the story.
I'd say that doesn't surprise me, being an '80s kid, because there was this guy around, and
Oh yeah, He-Man.
and this guy I just bought him, like,
Yeah,
grown
He-Man's
man right here.
He-Man's an interesting case though. He-Man's a case where they wanted to make the toy, so
Yeah.
instead of making a toy based on a show, they made a show based on a toy.
Okay, you can look down a little bit.
Isn't that why He-Man has such conflicting themes? Like you've got soldiers with guns and armor mixed with swords and sorcery.
Yeah, it's sci-fi. I mean, we got my boy over here. These were I was having a day out and celebrating something, and these happened to be at a Target, and they were like just on clearance, and I got an OG looking Trap Jaw and a He-Man. Talking about play, see, and I played with him, and hey, it's been a while, dude. We used to fight a lot. Yeah, I used to have to, man. It's like I just needed to work. I didn't really want to. Skeletor had me grinding out those shifts. I don't have any
Oh
problem
my God.
with you. They're friends now. They're friends. I'm gonna sit them over here. Maybe they'll pop up a few times.
So,
I think I'm gonna blacklight paint actually this guy. And
CP, I have another question for you.
what, you don't want to? We can't play with He-Man.
No, you can keep
Beowulf?
you. It actually continues on the subject of He-Man and Beowulf.
Dude, in Beowulf now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the He-Man Beowulf edition.
That's okay, Vaqueen. So do you have any personal experiences or encounters with these mythical stories, such as Beowulf, such as He-Man, that have inspired you in your own work or your own life? Like we touched on that a little bit already, but I want you to expand a little bit further. Like, watching the movie Beowulf probably did nothing to inspire you because it was not a good, well-told story, right? Like, I know I walked away from it with nothing, but the book, when I read passages from the book, even as difficult as it is to read, it inspires me. I want to I visualize what's happening, and seeing the art style and the imagery from the comic book of it inspires me heavily to want to create my own stuff.
And the good thing is about this one, written for a modern society, I just want to say, if you look at the English translation, there's a little paragraph on the side of it, and this is for the ADD version. So it just says this page 49. You have all this text, the whole thing, but what actually happens in it? It says Grendel strikes, and then a Giat. I thought that said great. What was the Giat?
Is it Geet?
Geet. Geet.
Yeah, it's Geet.
The Geet warrior perishes. So that's just what happens in all this stuff. And it makes it so you can kind of understand it. 'Cause it's very poetic, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And much like anything that's written in this style, we talked about Greek mythology earlier. I talked about the Bible earlier. There's a certain amount of interpretation in the translation, but there's also, you can't deny that we all process stuff in our own ways. So based on the cakewalk, I didn't get the cake. I might see a story in here and be like, oh, dude, Beowulf didn't get the cake either. Yeah, the world. Yeah, they fuck people like us. So see how I can reaffirm a narrative, even if it's not real, if it's just like a historical literature, I can still be constantly building up the way that I view the world.
So it's fascinating because the way that we sort of interpret which parts of stories inspire us is also going to be which parts of stories inspire us to be the people we are in our lives. If you want to create something that's similar to a story that you've heard, then you might also be taking stuff from that, and you might not even feel it. It might be subconscious even, that you're making choices based on characters or stories that you had read. Now, we're nearing where I'd like to wrap up. But sorry, you go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, do you believe in numerology?
To an extent, yes.
So I do probably to an extent too, but I don't know a lot about it. I was talking to my father the other day, and I was just talking about, my dad hasn't done a lot with psychology, but I do talk to him just as a human being and stuff that I've gone through, and we've worked together a lot, and he's starting to grasp some of the concepts, whether he's I don't believe in that stuff or not. He's starting to see, like, yeah, there's these things have informed the way that I look at the world. And I was telling him, based on this and this, I tend to see the world like this. And I think my mom said some stuff. My dad's like, I really like to think of numbers, like numbers. Like, I think this day's lucky, this day's unlucky. And so he created a code that's, in a way, like how people would probably view numerology, but he lets that code, and I don't know for how long, probably his whole life, because his mother said a lot of things, like superstitious things, like this number's bad or the number 10's bad. He's convinced the number 10's bad. So whenever it's the 10th of the month, my dad has already created a narrative for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's the 16th, then it's a good day. And see, I believe that too, because that's the 16th is my birthday. So I have this weird bias to the number of July 16th. And then so every 16, like, oh yeah, it's, hey, 16, that's my lucky number. I mean, just because of the fact that I just happen to be born on this day. So it's interesting that whereas, you might be framing from story or narrative or conversation or art, but then somebody like my dad has just been like, he put a bunch of numbers in his head because it's probably a little bit more black or white, and then it's like when you feel weird and you're conflicted in your emotions and stuff, it's easy to look at a calendar and be like, oh man, I'm not doing so good and stuff like that, and then to be like, oh, it's the 16th, now I'm all right, it's gonna be a good day, and then like to look at the 10th and be like, oh yeah, I fucking knew it, it's gonna be a bad day, and they just, the number, the simpleness of it all is going to create an entire story for that day, that month, that year, every 10. Oh, and I wonder how many 10s has my dad been living since I've been born. A few hundred. Have we had a few hundred 10s that are bad?
Oh.
Now I know that, and like actually know a piece of the code. So now I can go, I got into my dad's mind. So now I can use that to actually assess my life, which, so since we're wrapping up, I will say, and this gets into a larger concept, we are informed by the stories that have come in, but we may have been pulling stories from the beginning. Like maybe we're predisposed, maybe we are an archetype, and then the stories are just reaffirming it. Maybe the stories are creating it. I don't think we really know, but knowing other people's stories and the way that they work is very valuable, especially when they're close. So talk to people, understand, even if they're quiet, try to figure out their point of view and their story, because it's going to really help you, and just to understand, like, we don't all see things the same way, and we don't have to, and there's a very good reason for our feelings and why we end up here and why we make certain decisions.
Yeah. No, for sure.
August 18th. Yay. You're a Leo. That's why you're cool. All my friends are Cancers and Leos, except for this guy. What are you again?
So I'm a Cancer.
Oh, you are a Cancer.
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah, that's right.
I'm the crab. I'm a crab. I'm a crab.
many of I'm a crab.
I'm a
I'm
crab.
a crab.
So I'm thinking like that kind of broke my brain, honestly, the subject that you just breached, because
Yeah.
I am the stories that I have
Yeah.
absorbed.
That's all you are, dude.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
am.
you wake up. You wake up today. You can wake up tomorrow, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody in this chat, you can wake up tomorrow and you can say you're something different.
Yep.
It's so
You can
hard to
choose.
believe because you haven't done it for a while, but you can be like, today I'm gonna go out and I'm this that I'm
Yeah.
normally not, and you can really be it and you can try it out. It's probably easier. It's like go on a little trip, get out of the town
Yeah. Yep.
that you're in, and be like, I'm gonna go try out what it's like. Oh, it's a little more. It's play. It's playing.
Yeah.
It's being safe. I'm gonna try what it's like to be a little bit more open, or I'm gonna be real friendly with this person. I'm gonna like really engage with them in the moment instead of just putting in my coffee order. Like different ways, and you can make a version of yourself that's
Mhm.
the version you want to be.
So to wrap up, I want to
Try it
read. I want to read this story. Yeah, guys, try it out.
Try it out.
That's very true. I've just like how I chose to have a good experience with the tow truck driver. You can choose to have your experiences go the way that you want them to.
And understand that they have a point of view too. And
Yeah.
like you did, like that dude is just there doing a job. Like can't push snow through a vehicle. Like
Yep.
and yeah. And it's tough because sometimes we don't even agree with the job that they're doing. Some people do things we don't even want them to be there doing, but somebody does. Somebody does. Somebody finds value in what they do because they wouldn't be there. And they're not intentionally trying to ruin your day, or
Oh, exactly.
they're not concerned with it. I mean, they're just doing their thing. And like a lot of people think like, oh, they're too forward and they're too invasive and they're too much trying to deconstruct. I told my dad this a long time ago. People don't worry that much about you. You worry a lot about yourself, but
Yeah.
you'd be amazed at how much people don't think about you at the end of the day after you've left their site. They're on to the next thing. Like we're not that. I mean, you're important to you, but people aren't taking you home. Like, yeah, remember when I saw so and so at the gas station? Can't stop thinking about it. Like, it's happen. And if it does, then they're probably a little preoccupied in a negative way for themselves, and it only affects them, and it doesn't even affect you because it doesn't exist. It only exists if you allow it to. If you think people talk shit about you, people talk shit about you. If you don't think people talk shit about you, they don't talk shit about you. That's just it. It's just choice. Because both those realities exist because there are people that talk shit and people that don't talk shit. And whether you're part of the equation or not, the subject of shit talk, it doesn't matter because they just exist.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is like to avoid it, to not allow it. And if they do it in privacy, then that's not your concern. That's just their shitty problem. Like talking shit after you've tried to have a good day with them, then that's way beyond you.
Yeah.
Way beyond
For real.
You. So I hope you guys gained some insight. I got space Viking into something a little bit interesting, I think, towards the end of it. Despite me doing a 20-minute commercial for Sonnet of Silence and her beautiful abilities to render. And what a cute design.
Did we confirm that she's still online?
She's still online. She's got like 50 people hanging out. Want to go party?
Yeah, we will. But I wanted to read this story to you guys to wrap this up.
I'm excited. You guys ready for story time?
Story time.
Stories. We got
knowing what we've discussed.
We got stories with Space Viking. Y'all ready for stories?
Y'all ready? You ready for this?
I don't think you're ready for this. Cause Viking story so bootylicious.
So this is a story from the Poetic Edda.
Can I act it out with the He-Man character?
You could, yeah, you could do that.
How many characters are in this scene?
16.
Are you fucking shitting me?
Yeah. I'm not.
Number.
There's a lot of characters in this.
What do you think I am?
I think you're quite a guy.
All right, I'll try to act out with
Okay.
stuff I have around. Might be pencils and erasers.
I need you to send me the Dreamers Arcade logo at some point too, by the way.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't picking my nose.
You're okay.
You're gonna look dry. It's starting to get that cold, and I'm starting to get it dry. I gotta put a little bit of ballistics on this.
You got a Blistix. All right, now we got a double chat cam here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hey. What
Hey,
do you
hey.
say?
Hey.
I got a pizza cat.
You got the pizza cat. All right, so this is a story from the Poetic Edda.
You know what's beautiful? Talking about making realities and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't know you, I wouldn't know Sonnet. I wouldn't have this. Like, it's fucked up, dude.
It is.
Because of you that I have this. Isn't that weird?
Because of me. Oh yeah, Elder and Katie are together now too. Like there's like so many things that like I wouldn't have thought that I would have had a yeah. They're a couple.
Oh.
And like she's gonna be moving in with him, and like shit like that wouldn't have happened without.
Poor girl.
Yeah. Poor girl.
No shit, Elder.
Rude. So
I gotta talk to them. I haven't talked to them in a while. When do you game with them?
We haven't been able to game in a while.
All right, so that's probably.
So eventually, yeah.
All right.
So all right, so I'm gonna get into this story. So this is a story that is from the Poetic Edda, which is an old collection of Norse mythological stories that were written down by some English monks. So no one's really sure how true these stories are to their original versions because the Vikings didn't write down their stories. They wrote down very, very short and to the point like wisdoms on the rune stones, but there was never like full stories written down in rune.
Oh my God, son.
There's literally it's too bad. We'll get her sometime. One of the funniest runestones that have ever been written down basically says something like Ericsson was here. Like it was on a runestone and it basically just said so and so was here. And that sort of tells you what the Vikings sort of found worth it to write down. But so this story is called Thor's Wedding.
All right.
So Thor the Thunderer, the Hollowed Hammerer, the god of Thursdays, oak trees, and healing, kept his weapon by his side. This was Mjolnir, the hugest, hardest hammer that ever was. With Mjolnir, Thor could knock down mountains, squash cities, and bash whole armies. He was a god after all, and gods can do things like that if they want to. Giants can too, but generally speaking, gods do things bigger and better. One night, when Thor was snoring, and that was pretty noisy, I can tell you, a giant tiptoed by his bed and stole Mjolnir. In the morning, Thor discovered the lack of his hammer. Oh my, how his tantrum shook the ground and quivered the treetops. The sun ran scared and hid behind the horizon. The clouds blackened, whizzed around the sky, smashed into another, and turned into cold, hard rain. Hard, cold rain. The human priests called out, "People, hide! The sky is falling down." Thor, when at last he grew weary of rage, vowed to get back his hammer. The task called for brains, which he did not have in quite such quantity as brawn. Now
Nothing. Oh, let me put my arm down.
Now Loki, he was a different kind of god. His wits were as quick as a flame. He had as many tricks as a fire has sparks. He came to Thor's aid in a flash. Loki, called Thor, help me find my hammer. This is serious, said Loki. Mjolnir is our main weapon against the giants, which leads me to think that it was most probably a giant who stole it. Let me prove my hunch, and then we shall see what we can do. Loki first called on the lovely house of Freya, she of the long golden hair and cloak of feathers. Freya, will you lend me your cloak? He asked. That I will, she replied. Even if it were made of silver or gold, I would let you have it. For we gods help one another in times of trouble. When Loki had wrapped himself in the wonderful garment, he looked just like a hawk. The feathers whirled as he winged his way across the sky, leaving the land of the gods and reaching the realm of giants. Thyrum was the giant's king. Thyrum was the giant's king. He sat on a hill, making gold chains for his dogs. When Loki sat beside him, Thyrum knew him right away. How are the gods? He asked. And what news of the elves? The gods are doing far from well, said Loki. And the elves, little better. We've lost a hammer. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? That I do, replied Thyrum. We've buried the hammer of Thor 8 miles under, and shall not return it until Freya is my wife. Loki spread his wings and took off. His feathers whirled. He didn't say anything? Hold on. He's just like, bye. Thanks for the info. Loki spread his wings and took off. His feathers whirled as he winged his way across the sky, leaving a land of giants and reaching the realm of the gods. Thor was waiting in the courtyard of the palace. Loki sat beside him. What news of my hammer? Thor inquired. Loki replied, Thyrum is buried at 8 miles under and will not return it until Freya is his wife. Right then, said Thor, and straightway the two gods made their way to the lovely house of Freya, she of the long golden hair. Freya, take the bridal veil, said Thor. Set a pretty cap upon your head. Choose a long dress with flowers and precious gems embroidered into its hem. Let your necklace, the wondrous work of dwarves, shine upon your breast. You must marry the king Thyrum before he will return my hammer. He has hidden it 8 miles under, and there's no other solution. They haven't really even tried another solution. All right. So in times of trouble, we gods always help one another. So cheer up. Put on a smile, sweetheart. Today is your wedding day. But Freya did not do as she was told. Yes, I'm so glad. Cheer up. Cheer up. You must have lost what's left of your tiny little mind, my big brutish friend. If you think I'm going to wed a giant, then you've got another thing coming. You've lost your hammer 8 miles under. Well, here's my advice to you. Start digging, she says. She then took off her mighty necklace, the wondrous work of dwarves who live beneath the ground, and lashed the thunder god with it. Something had to be done. The far famed gods and goddesses came into a council to decide. There spoke Heimdall, wisest of the gods, the sleepless watcher of the world. He knew the future well, and his advice was always worthy of attention. This is what he said. Thor, take the bridal veil, set a pretty cap upon your head, and choose a long dress with flowers and precious gems embroidered into its hem. Let Freya's necklace, the wondrous work of dwarves, shine upon your breast. Now, come on, Thor, my boy. Why these angry scowls and growls? Cheer up, for today we shall wed Thyrum, the king of giants. I shall not be unmanned, thundered Thor. When the far-famed gods and goddesses had finally stopped laughing, Thor stepped forth and declared, Thor, don't you see? The deception will be a fine trick to play on Thyrum, the thief. If you agree to this, then I shall dress up as your bridesmaid and stand by your side on your big day. If you do not agree, then, my friend, the giants will soon be here in Asgard, wielding the mighty hammer against us and smashing down the walls of this very palace. Thor saw that he must go along with the plan, for in times of trouble the gods help one another. He took the bridal veil, the goddesses set a pretty cap upon his head. Freya chose a long dress for him, with flowers and precious gems embroidered into its hem. Then she placed her necklace, the wondrous work of dwarves, around his neck, so that it shone upon his breast. Truly, you are the loveliest bride ever, did see, swore Loki. He then too dressed as a maid. Together they left the land of the gods and reached the realm of giants. Thyrim saw the bridal party on their way. He called out, "Giants, set out the benches and the tables for the feast. I have many goats and sheep, a multitude of black-eared oxen, chests brimming with jewels, and every possession that a giant could delight in. But one thing I lack, the beautiful Freya for my wife. Now they are bringing her to be my bride. Giants rejoice. This shall be our wedding day." So the giants brought giant quantities of drink and food. Thor alone ate an entire ox, ate salmon, and the dainty little dishes that were set out for the women. He washed down his food with 3 barrels of mead. Thyrim marveled at such appetite. Whoever saw a bride with such a greedy gobble, a bite so big and a thirst so unquenchable. Thick as a flash, quick as a flash, Loki the bridesmaid replied. So excited was she, waiting for her wedding day to dawn, that she did not eat or drink in 8 whole days. Oh, what a sweetheart. Let me give her a kiss. Declared Thyrim, and he lifted up the bride's veil. Thor glowered like a sky was about to break into a storm. Thyrim stepped back, startled. What a bride had eyes so red, a brow so furrowed, and lips so drawing, he asked. Quick as a spark, Loki the bridesmaid replied. So excited was she, waiting for her wedding day to dawn, that she did not sleep a whole 8 nights. Oh, what a sweetheart, declared Thyrim. Bring Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor, laid on the bride's lap, so that the high priest may bless our wedding. At last, this was something that made the heart of Thor rejoice. As soon as the priest returned his hammer to his lap, he threw off the bridal veil, the pretty cap, the long flowing dress, and around his head he wielded the weapon, killing Thyrim and every giant who stood in his way. So ended Thor's wedding day, fortunately before he was actually wed. Another time he married Sif, the goddess of the golden corn, whose long hair Loki once stole as a trick. That is another story for another time.
That's another time, dude.
That is another time. So this story is one of the oldest stories ever written down by English monks in 900 AD, right?
Yeah.
There's an image, actually. Let me bring up the image.
Ain't nothing like smoking that ammonia, man.
So here's the image of Thor all dressed up for the wedding, beard and all. Apparently the giants don't care about a bride with a beard. Or the veil. But he lifted it to look it into his eyes. Yeah. So this Mm-hmm. You've done well. Hold on. You've done very well, sir.
A little bit of accoutrement.
There you go.
Look how dead sexy one becomes.
This story sort of captures everything we've talked about actually today.
All right.
And that's why I love that VicQueen brought it up. This story is about how like our nuances of story are different now. Our idea of there's been a crisis, we must solve it. Let's find a way to solve it. Let's be smart about it. The story also teaches to let go of your manliness for a second, and we might be able to do things a little bit differently than just violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except he also did kill all the giants after the plot has conceded. So maybe it's more teaching patience than
or maybe in the end he he rejected his femininity. He's like, no, I'm still man. I kill all the giants. Like, there's so many different.
Mhm.
Any view with these loose poetry that's old, like it can get changed around for the good or the bad. And I don't know if you guys realize what happened. We've talking about recontextualizing a story. Well, right now in 2023,
Mhm.
2023, a kind of interesting day in itself. Your buddies here at Coffee and Contemplation recontextualize the story with the use of acting and He-Man and reading and cadence, and we've created our own today version of the story, and you can too, because that's
You
what you're
can
important.
too.
That's what's important about you is everybody's got a story to tell, and it might be like a lot of the other stories, which is good because that's how we connect and we find commonality. But there's nuances and stuff that make it just a little bit different, just enough. Be like, hey, this is the new time, this is a new place, this is a new person.